See it down at the bottom.
Hello. I may have just jumped into that without making sure Andy was ready. Hello.
I was 100% ready. We are professional. We're definitely not unprofessional. I wasn't sitting there chatting away about the list and all the rest of it. No.
Yeah, but hey, good to see you all. Hope everyone's doing well. It's a Thursday stream. This is a bit unusual for us.
It is.
And hopefully I should sound better or more equal to Andy, because I have been doing a lot of messing with microphone stuff over this week, which is
you sound nice and mellow in my ears. Your dulcet tones are coming through cleanly.
I finally was looking in at my mic settings and I was like, oh, like my decibels is like way too high. The gain was way too high on this mic. But we're here. It's Thursday. It's almost the end of the week. Hallelujah for most people. And today we've got a pretty fun stream. We're doing. So initially, the plan this past Tuesday was that we were going to talk about the new books for the old world. But then I realized that they hadn't released the new books for the old world yet. Those come out this Saturday. And then after that, but we ended up accidentally essentially doing a free episode. If you go over to the Lawhammer channel, there's like a 2+ hour stream of Andy watching the trailer, and then I popped on and you
jumped in,
yapped about some stuff, and it was super fun. And there was also a nice little wave of more subs, which if you're watching this, please go sub to Lawhammer. We are like 450 people away or something from doing the Gelt episode, because we'll be hitting 10K on Lawhammer, which will be super duper fun and exciting.
I mean, if you say so.
Yeah, well, it'll be something at least. It'll be something.
I'm looking forward to it immensely, because I have a lot of opinions about Balthazar Gelt, which have been shared on this stream more than once in the past in our various interludes with the Empire, and I refused to do a stream about him, but I got my arm twisted and I said, okay, fair enough, when we get up to 10k subscriptions over on Lawhammer, then yes, I suppose I'll do it. So we've got that running in the background. So if you would like to hear me rant and rave about Gelt, then please do go subscribe over on that side.
Yep. And from here, I'm going to give everyone a little bit of a warning that we're going to be trying to move at a pretty aggressive clip for today's stream, because A, it's later than normal over on Andy's end, and B, on my end, I have to go like immediately when we hit like that 3-hour mark. So no matter what's happened, I have
swiftly.
I have to fly like Gandalf tells us to.
I'm super looking forward to this stream, actually, because we have had a lot of talk behind the scenes about what we should and what we shouldn't include, because we are, after all, tiering the greatest artifacts of the Warhammer world, and it's super hard to pin some of these buggers down. What is the greatest of artifacts? Which one isn't? What should be included? What shouldn't? We have selected, I think it's 15 of them. And these are not necessarily all that should be included, but they're the ones that we've chosen to include for one reason or another. If you disagree, think we should do something different, drop down in the comments and tell us, and we will mull it and, of course, reject all of your ideas. But if we have enough people making comments about it, we may go fair enough and maybe even do a second stream, tiering perhaps the less than what are effectively god tier items that we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah, there was a lot of hemming and hawing about what should go on here, and there were some things that there were good arguments about. Oh, this could make the cut, but not really. Or this one should. Oh, but then there's this other note about it, and kind of So, it is what it is. And what we're gonna do real quick is we're gonna get through the super chats that came in at the start, and then we're gonna get going.
Yep, we are indeed.
Cole Patterson. If my battle game experience is anything to go by, the strongest artifact is clearly Van Horstman's Speculum, also an Emperor class Dragon Please. So, is it a god tier item? No, but does it feel like a god tier item on tabletop? Yes.
Yeah, it's the truth. Warhammer Fantasy Battle as a game, or Warhammer the Old World, if you're playing on that, has got its own requirements for the artifacts, and many what would be god tier artifacts are actually, in terms of points in the game, pretty cheap, because they're not necessarily that good on a battlefield. What they're good at is perhaps killing gods or destroying the world or doing something that your average Warhammer game doesn't do. That being the case, you'll find that the artifacts that we've chosen for today are all artifacts that can be carried around. We're not doing big, huge, gigantic things. That's not what this particular list is about. This list is about stuff that you can feasibly, probably, carry around on the battlefield and change the world. It's not about stuff that we've never seen in the Warhammer world, or we've only got myths about. So if, for example, we've got a god that's carrying a weapon in one myth, we're not going to include that one because who knows what that weapon can or can't do. It's never really been described in real world detail. But if it has been described in game somewhere, we will take it into account.
Yes, and when you really think about it, Van Horseman's Speculum is basically just the Uno reverse meme before it was a big meme, because that's literally just what it does.
It's exactly what it does. It's a super cool artifact, though.
Yep, Battlefield, yes. Andy agrees to ship Gelt/Skrull. Kazaa. Maybe when we get to 100,000 on Lawhammer.
But I don't think I would be that sad to see Gelt fall into the hands of Skrulk. It would not end well.
I feel like his motivations are different. Captain Magma Pyro. Fellblade for 4 point. Ask to yourself. Ask for Skaven. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Well, the Fellblade might be on our list. You'll find out very soon.
Very soon. Metellus Decius. Is the amount of magical artifacts growing or waning in the Warhammer world? So are more destroyed/lost or new ones created by wizards, for example?
It's a constantly ongoing cycle and recycle and movement. Lots of very old, powerful artifacts are just as capable of what they were first designed to do near the end of the Warhammer world as at the start. But you tend to find that the most powerful are those that were created during great waxings of magic, often associated with the incursions of chaos. So you'll find that some of the greatest artifacts from the beginning of time were created during the Cataclysm. Not all, but many, or to deal with the Cataclysm. And then you'll find that later on, other artifacts were created, often during peaks of high magic saturation in the world.
Yep, and so you can almost kind of think of it as a breeding season for magic in kind of a weird way of like when magic gets strong, there's more items created. When there's low points, there's less. Sean Zolt, are Andy's headphones a strong Warhammer item? The strongest. Yeah.
Well, that's entirely up to yourself to decide.
They allow him to hear noise from all over the world. Like that's pretty powerful.
I mean, that is pretty powerful. Warhammer style.
Yeah. Super Orlock, thank you. Good to see you as always. Grim Isaac, Star Wars 1 reference, the planet's core. Oh man. Wait, when you say Star Wars 1, do you mean episode 1 or like the first movie, like episode 4?
Let's not start Star Wars arguments. Oh no.
The Devil's Rebellion. Since this stream is about artifacts, might as well ask how a demon or vampire would handle being cut with a shard blade, a weapon that cuts the souls of things.
One of two.
One of two.
Second part's down here. No.
There we go. Get hit on the arm with one. The blade will leave the arm intact, but grayed out from the cut down as it severed part of your soul that represents that arm. You want to tackle this first?
Soul stuff in Warhammer is really freaking complicated and is more wrapped up in belief than many realize. There are different things that are referred to as the soul in Warhammer. So your answer could very well work for certain artifacts, and they might have exactly the same description in lore as another artifact that severs souls and does nothing, or completely eradicates the vampire, if we're going with vampires, because souls are complicated, understood in different ways, and different artifacts interact with them in different ways. So your answer is as good as any.
Yeah, I would very much agree. The big one I would say is that if you have a weapon that actually does what it says on the tin and interacts with kind of soul type stuff, against a demon, it'll be very, very good, but it will struggle. There are very few weapons that can permakill demons. They exist. We have some on our list, but they tend to be less known as soul renders and more known as like reality
demon killers,
destroyer. Yeah, demon killers, which is kind of like another tier above.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Also, I just realized
that same weapon would probably do nothing to a vampire because its soul is already severed in many respects, as understood by that.
I just realized Andy is going to get to see for the first time something
Ooh.
that I learned from the 40K Lorebeards about
how to
StreamYard.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this because I haven't seen how it works.
Yeah, so we're going to be we don't have to do polls. No longer are Twitch and YouTube separated. Y'all are combined into one harmonious mesh.
It's
now.
beautiful. Oh, it's a thing of beauty and a joy forever.
Yep. All right. It's time for us to get started. So let's look at the list. Boom. Andy, do you want to give us a quick rundown?
Yep, certainly. Now, this list is going to be controversial for some, but there are many items that we discussed hard beforehand that should be in here, several of which have already popped up inside the chat. We're going to quickly run through this so we get an idea of what we have included, and we'll also have a quick near misses list because there's a bunch of near misses that both of us discussed that could have gone in here. But we only have 3 hours, so we're not going to add more and more and more on this. What we're going to do is take these 15 and give them a good chat so that you can understand what each of them are and you can determine what you think they should be rated as. So what do we have? We're starting off with the Axes of Grimnir. So we're starting big. 2 axes designed for a god to kill chaos. Yes, love it. Next, we're on to a not very well-known artifact. This is one that absolutely has to be concluded. You'll find out why soon. The Blade of Coca-Cola, perhaps? Different ways that can be pronounced. What do you think?
I was going to say Cochlea, but
Cochlea sounds good to me too. It's
Coca-Cola.
Really
Cochlea sounds a bit better.
So this is a good one, and it's sitting beside the Blade of Realities, a blade that, whilst it has many similarities, is completely freaking different. We then move on to the Circlet of Iron. This is worn by Malekith and is a spooky as fuck thing, as you will find out quite soon. Next is the Crown of Nagash. If you don't know what the Crown of Nagash is, I genuinely hate you because that means you missed our Crown of Nagash stream last Sunday, and I hate you. How dare you miss our streams? But more realistically, the Crown of Nagash is often described as one of the most powerful in the Warhammer world. Is it? We'll discuss that. Next, we move to the dodecahedron of Continental Drift, a very well-named artifact. This one always makes me laugh just for its name.
It's totally not like a meta D20 joke. Totally not.
It's definitely not, and it's definitely not also crazy overpowered. You'll find out about this rather interesting artifact soon. Next, we have the Fell Blade, an artifact designed to kill. We'll get onto that, but it's a Skaven. Really powerful weapon, as you will find out soon. Next, we have Galmaraz, the Warhammer, the Hammer of Sigmar. Should be a fun one. After that, we have the Grieve, a lesser well-known artifact. But this is one of the few artifacts that have genuinely slain a god. That's worth stating. Next, we have the Kraken Helm, because, hey, where did that come from? I mean, where did that come from? The Kraken Helm. This is going to be a fun one. Looking forward to that. The Nemesis Crown, Alaric Namad's crazy crown. Anyone who plays Total War will know this one well. The 6 Treasures of Chaos is a bit of a fudge because it's not a single artifact, but when they are combined together, it's fair to say that they destroyed the Warhammer world, kinda. So they kind of felt like they should be in there. Then we have the Sword of Cain, arguably one of the most powerful artifacts in the world. Arguably, you can determine where that will be rated. Then the Throne of Power from the Dawi, the dwarfs, the High King's throne himself, originally created presumably for a god, the very first ancestor god to sit on it. And it may be more powerful than you first think if you're just to read its rules. And finally, we have the somewhat infamous Tome of Fate, that for anyone who plays Total War, you will know very well indeed. Now, that's the 15 we've included. At the beginning of our discussions, we almost went with something like, let's try and balance it between the different factions and species and groups. Can we try and get one in for each? Yeah, no, that just doesn't work. I mean,
that fell on its face real quick.
There's some super cool factions out there with literally nothing of the tier of power that these artifacts represent. It's fair to say that the vast majority of the super powerful stuff tends to fall with the elves, the dwarves, and chaos. those three together, along with the lizardman at the side, give most of this list. In fact, possibly all of this list. Oh, not quite, not quite. Very
all
close
but
to
like
all.
one.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Undead there, you've got the Fellblade for the Skaven, most of the list.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's a good like 5 or 6 factions.
Yeah, it quickly became imbalanced as we were discussing the most important ones, and too many of these had to be included for us to try and do something equal and balanced. So this is not balanced between factions and groups and peoples and races and species and whatever else you might prefer. It's literally just the 15 arguably most powerful, and I will state arguably as we make our way through this, because I do have some pretty strong opinions on this list. Beyond that, there was some pretty close misses. You got any close misses you'd like to include?
Yeah, I think for me, probably the biggest close misses are there are a number of artifacts that exist within the setting that are very good at just like stopping magic. Like they just stop magic from existing. So you have things like the brooch that Cetra wears that allows him to just that allows him to throw down with Nagash, and just seems to like within the setting itself, it is treated as making him quite literally immune to magic. But then there are items that also are talked about within some of the other factions that have the actual rules that they just stop magic dead. So you have like Mork's War Banner from the Greenskins, the Banner of the World Dragon from the Elves. But although those are incredibly powerful artifacts, they are also they're very specific in what they do, and they're not like world ending or world saving
or world changing.
Yeah.
And as you
powerful,
well know,
but they're just not at this level.
Yeah, because we do have an example of an anti-magic item in this list. We'll get to it. And it makes all of them look weak, which is one of the reasons why those sort of got dropped. Any other inclusions you want to discuss?
I think the only other one that we were really kicking around, I saw somebody mentioning in chat as well, of the 3 artifacts of Lilith, depending on how you say it. We talked about them because they are powerful, but they kind of suffer from only the Moon Staff is actually deeply detailed in what it actually does, whereas the Star Crown, which featured a bit in Total War and got a little bit of explanation, but not a lot, and the Amulet of Sunfire, we have no idea what it does.
Yeah. And they're a bit too vague and nebulous. And what details we do have are not big enough to really suggest anything other than these are the artifacts that have been imbued with all Lilith, whatever you prefer, power. And what does he do? Power. Okay. So it's just all a bit vague. So stuff that's really vague, we've sort of had to put aside. Another one that we left out was the Staff of Volans, which is held by Gelt. And Gelt was holding it, so it couldn't be included. The end. The real reason is
that was what happened.
It's a super local artifact. It is exceedingly powerful. And although many don't realize, it's actually an artifact with elven origin. It's not originally from humans. It was a reshaping of an elven artifact. And it's really good on a single battle. Holy crap, anyone wielding that's going to be powerful. But in terms of the bigger picture, handy for battles, but not the overall war. So yeah, we, after some humming and hawing, went, that kind of has to be dropped.
Yep. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump to our first item, and then we'll kind of grab super chats between the items as we go. So we're going to be starting with the Axes of Grimnir.
You want to go with Gotrek's axe then? Or do you want to go with the other one?
So, okay. So if or the other one. The phantom one. So the Axes of Grimnir, for those unaware of the dual axes that were wielded by Grimnir, the warrior god, the first slayer who went up into the north and sealed one of the chaos gates. And the biggest thing to keep in mind is that these axes were ultimately very, very successful. They were the thing that allowed Grimnir to stuff himself in a vaguely dwarf-sized hole between the realm of chaos and the mortal realms, and he held that spot for almost 10,000 years. And it wasn't him that failed, it was the demon started flooding too much from other places, so he had to leave his post because the world was ending already. But These axes, which are so powerful that there's even technically a third one out there, though that one is more of a metaphysical weapon. Go watch our Grummerdle stream. Gotrek's axe is by far the most famous of the two, because Grimnir gave one to one of his sons as he was leaving the mortal realm. So he didn't even take both with him. He only took one with him. And that one got passed down to the various High Kings. And that one, admittedly, is not treated with nearly the amount of awe that it should be. Its tabletop rules were always a bit of a bummer compared to what it should have been. But then there's Gotrek's axe, which is the other one that was found by Gotrek early on in his journeys when he went up deep into the Chaos Wastes. And Gotrek's axe gets a ton of detailing, and it is absolutely obscene. It is an absurd, over-the-top, ridiculous weapon that basically alters his fate. It is a fate changer weapon. It's explicitly called out within the Gotrek and Felix series that it extends Gotrek and Felix's life. It basically makes them in the prime of their youth and keeps them there. Gotrek himself seems to basically swell up in size and strength, where he's notably larger and more muscular than all other dwarfs that we see throughout the series, to the point where other dwarfs look at him, they're like, something's off about this guy. And he's able to fight and survive some absolutely ridiculous things because of this weapon. And when Grimnir wielded them, and when Gotrek later wields, gets their full power when he gets both of them, we are shown that they are said to be full-on demon killers. They are axes that if they cleave into a demon, that demon is dead. It is dead. Which means that you are basically permanently shattering the fragment of a god every time you cleave a demon down with this, which is genuinely really rare. Like, that is one of the most rare things an item can do in fantasy, is you are functionally putting down, even if it's small, a fragment of a god.
Yeah. So I have a fair bit to say on this, but we have time to kill not. So that being the case, I'm going to keep it pretty short from my side and simply say that the axes of Grimnir are, when the winds of magic are waxing, very powerful. The master runes upon them do stuff. Indeed, all dwarven master runes appear to do more than the simple Warhammer rules suggest when a great storm of magic comes, when the Chaos Gates open. But when it's not open, they're relatively simple. One is probably a big giant slayer, the other one's probably a big demon slayer, and they go around killing shit with it. They're good, they're powerful. They've got, apparently on one of them, the axe of Alaric, the Master Rune of Alaric the Mad. What the fuck? How could that be the case, given it was a god-born weapon, Grimnir, before Alaric the Mad was born? But let's not think about it too deeply. Because the more we do, the more we realize these axes don't make a great deal of sense. There are 3 of them, not 2. Go watch our White Dwarf stream. And that gives us a pair of axes that, whilst powerful, outside of great incursions of chaos, they're not all that. They're just very good axes. Will they change the world? No. Will they make everything change? No. When Grimnir is desperate and he is failing in a Chaos Gate, will one of his axes help bring an alternative to the fight? Yes. Gotrek pretty much was summoned by a god through the axe, and he was massively swollen up to Grimnir-like proportions, arguably by the axe or Grimnir, depending upon how you wish to view it. The easiest interpretation is that the runes upon the axe change the world around them when there's a great swelling of magic. But again, it's quite local. Do you think that that makes it an S-tier item? Do you think it brings it all the way down to maybe C or D? Because we are talking about god-tier items. Yes, they're the weapons once born by a god, but are these weapons more powerful than some of them to come? I am very much open to that argument.
Yeah, and what I will add is Andy's completely right of that the axes are very conditional. There are times where there are things that they struggle against. Yeah. They do need a lot of magic to power them. And They are, if you look at this list, they are going up against world enders, full-on god killers, not just killers of demons, but killers of gods. The Axis of Grimnir's don't have a successful god kill.
No, they do not. The Axis of Grimnir have been used to kill demons, kill giants, kill everything Gotrek has ever seen, but they have not been used to do anything world-shifting. But that doesn't mean that you, perhaps because you love dwarves, think that this item should not be posted higher. This is, after all, your poll, not us. We merely describe the items. But when you see everything that is to come, you might go, oh, I see what you're saying there.
Yeah. Though, you know what? I'm going to do something a little bit unique for this particular tier list, because these are all true god weapons that made it onto this list. So we are going to abolish the D tier. The D tier does not deserve to exist in this world. It is only S through C, and now is the time to vote. So we have a new system here, which is that so the poll is now up. And it's accidentally eating a little bit of Andy's face, which is why I'm going to move it over here.
Face anyway.
There we go. Oh, look, well I can teleport it though, so now it's out of the way.
Pretty impressive teleportation.
Yeah, there you go. So all you have to do is type in the number in chat associated with the letter you want. So if you want S, you type in a 1, and you could do this in Twitch and or YouTube chat. If you want to double vote and be in both chats, you still can. And the nice thing is we can now control this from StreamYard, so I don't have to have a ton of different tabs open anymore. And we also get to hang on to it if it doesn't disappear either. It stays for as long as we want it to stay.
Oh, I love
it's
this.
so nice.
Oh, this is beautiful. So get your votes in. Thank you very much. And again, let's quickly, as you're voting, discuss what it means. S, there is nothing better. Best artifacts in the world. A, this is one of the most powerful artifacts in Warhammer. B, it's super powerful, but there's more to come. Or C, I understand why you put it on the list, but seriously, this other shit is so much more impressive.
Yep. And while y'all are voting, we're going to get caught up with Super Chats real fast. Avani DK. So we all know the Warhammers called Mraz. However, I wonder where all the other 39,999 Warhammers fall on the tier list. So technically, those are all part of the multiverse that leads to the eventual conclusion that is the 40,000 where the Emperor of Mankind loses all of them because he's an idiot.
Or alternatively, wait till we discuss Galmaraz.
That too. The Sidgemeister.
Looking forward to this.
Go. Man, that makes me want to just like. I'm debating whether I should try or if I should deliberately botch it. So I'll give it an honest effort of Bianaktai O Iron. Is it Thursday yet? Yes.
And yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Sean Schultz, what is Andy's list not controversial? Well, it wouldn't be fun if it's not controversial.
Yeah, we like to have a controversial list or two. And we also like to have a controversial inclusion.
There you go. Stephen Lucas. Oh, yes, the Fellblade. I remember that Horus Heresy book scene when a Skaven used the twin accelerator cannons to blow up a Vulcan like a slasher movie. Huh?
That's gone completely over my lore head.
Yeah, I haven't reached that part. I'm only on book 3. Gary Geronison, how would Dragonpur, I don't know what that is, or a similar weapon work in the Warhammer universe? Something that's so deeply connected to a source of magic. Dragnipur. I thought that was like in Draugr.
Oh, the Malazan, of course, Dragnipur. It wouldn't be connected through, so it would just be the artifact that it is. It wouldn't be connected through to the original source unless that source was intrinsically tied to the Warhammer world.
Captain Magma Pyro, would the compass and Cathaic House near miss? So we originally had it on the list, but we came to the decision that it's too big. You can't carry
this around.
So we do have a list we want to do in the future that will involve like places of significant magic, and the whooshing compass would be on that list. Cole Patterson, what about the rocks of Bellicor
God
slang?
damn it, that's a meme inclusion I should have included.
Yeah,
God damn.
Tic-Tac-Toe's glorious Demon Prince slang rock. It's too powerful for this list. It wouldn't be fair to include it. Getting gleeful. Krakenhelm over Von Karstein. I'm assuming by Von Karstein, are you talking about the ring? Well, it's we'll get to it when we
Rating
get
was
to it.
discussed, but very swiftly discarded for various reasons.
EJ Cruising, Gotrek appeared in one of my wolf rep sessions recently because of the runes on the weapon was regularly doing 40 plus damage, as he should.
Nice. Makes me smile.
Max Hempel, hey guys, love Lorebeards, great to listen to when doing farm work. Love what if scenarios, excited to hear more. I think what if Boris Todbringer won the election senator Karl Franz could be an interesting one. Yeah, that'd be a fun one to do. That wouldn't be that hard.
That would be
either.
fun because capital would move up to Middenheim, so it would be an entirely different outcome. So yeah, that'd be a fun one.
Yep. Max, again, could the Destroyer of Eternities have made the cuts for this list? It was on the maybe, but here was the thing about the Destroyer of Eternities. So originally I had it on the list, and then I was doing research and double checking all the items. And the thing about the Destroyer of Eternities is the writers actually did something kind of clever with it, where it's very explicitly rumored to destroy the world, destroy the soul. So like the Tomb Kings believe it could destroy the soul, but the item doesn't actually do in tabletop what most soul destroyers do, which is that they ignore all saves. Instead, the Destroyer of Eternities is basically this big two-handed weapon that just like hits tons and tons of people. And B, in the end times, the Skaven also believe that that's what this weapon is capable of doing. And so the Skaven and Kotep and all these other figures basically get together and they try to use it to destroy Nagash, and it fails.
It fails. Yeah.
It fails to kill him. So it's either not what they believe it was, or when Nagash hit godhood level, and he's not even full god, but when he's like relatively godhood level, he was too powerful for it to kill him, which means it shouldn't be on this list.
Yep, agreed. And that's why I think it should be included as well. This is a fine example of in-world belief hitting the reality in world. And the reality was Nagash did not fall. Yeah, if he'd fallen, different kettle of fish.
Yep. Ricky Chapman, we need a video just about magic items. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot that could be said. There is a lot potentially. That could go on a vote at some point.
Yep. TBI Hydro Archaeology. So if the High King has one and Gotrek has one, what is Grimnir rocking in the portal? I can't remember. So when you meet Grimnir in the portal, the super TLDR to this is that Grimnir's essence and the essence of the axes seem to basically be the same thing. So Grimnir, because when Grimnir meets Gotrek, he has the High King's axe. I'll put it that way.
Yep.
And then, oh man, YVJLVYU, because I don't know how I would make a word out of that. First time, long time. I run a Warhammer and D&D club at the school I teach at, and watching Lorebeards / Lawhammer is tempting me to teach the wolf rep. You should.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, I think Andy Leask did that. Didn't he teach wolf rep?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, his
because Andy Leask is a teacher and also helped write Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and he did indeed teach that game to his local games club at the school.
Bouncing Eel, what if a giant strapped the compass to its back? So the whooshing compass is built into the celestial flying palace of the Celestial Dragon Emperor, so it would have to carry the entire palace, which I don't think a giant is going to be able to pull
hell,
off.
We discussed its inclusion for some time and eventually discarded it for a different alternative list.
Yeah, but it will be on a powerful list at some point. Necromancer Kobold, maybe Grimnir wielded 3 axes like Zoro from One Piece. Perhaps. Unlikely, but perhaps. All right,
looks like we've got ourselves a result.
Yep. So we're gonna stop the poll, and the winner is B tier.
B tier. The Axes of Grimnir. Does this seem fair to you, Ryan?
So I'm going to be honest. I think the Axes of Grimnir have a bit of an unfair advantage because they were very, very first on this list due to alphabetical order. I, compared to everything else on this list, honest to God, I would put them in C tier.
So on my side, hard C. Okay, so that's it. Hard C. Why? Well, you're about to find out, because our next one is the blade of Coca-Chila, Coca-Chila, whatever you want to call it.
I do like Coca-Chila. That sounds right. It's got a little spice to it.
Yeah, it's got a bit of spice to it. So, Lisbon only artifact, and this artifact did not see deeper use inside Warhammer in the later editions, and there was a reason for that. Because some artifacts are just too powerful. Now, 5th edition Warhammer, which is where I've taken this one from, is well known amongst those who are Warhammer Fantasy aficionados as Hero Hammer. This was the game where your characters were pretty much so integral to the strategy, your units were basically just meat shields to get these characters into combat, and the artifacts they could carry were often ridiculous. This was the first edition to, for example, present Nagash with stats, and the blade is one of those items. Right, what is it? I'm just going to read it to you because I love this one. So, who now remembers the ancient mage, it was a slan, probably, or an old one, whose name this weapon bears? Only the oldest of prophecies record how he strove to close the sorceress gates using it. The great gates of chaos, this is what was made to close them. So we're starting big here. This is a weapon designed to close the gates of chaos. It is filled with the most powerful anti-magic in the whole world in black and white god text. There is nothing more anti-magical than this. It is quite, and I will quote, the most powerful and concentrated form of anti-magic in the whole world. No spell works against it, no matter how it's cast. No magic items carried by anyone and base to base with it work, no matter what their rules say. It absolutely cancels everything. Nothing works. But it's even worse because it was made for a slan, which means the slan can still cast magic and carry other magic artifacts because it's a bullshit item. Now, why do I shout bullshit? Because I have faced against this bullshit and I hated it immensely while simultaneously sort of loving it because it's a cool artifact. Bluntly put, it's the artifact designed by the slan to close the Chaos Gates, and it failed to get there. So it's still hanging around in Lustria. Why have we included this? Like in previous tier lists, we have often included stuff from previous editions. And previous editions are only, let's say, wrong when they're overwritten. This has never been overwritten. It's an artifact that was simply too powerful for later editions of Warhammer because it is bluntly too powerful. Nothing works against it. To make it worse, you ready for this one? Any wizard who suffers even the slightest wound from it loses all of their powers forever permanently. Permanently.
Jesus Christ.
Further, they must permanently surrender one of their magic items, no matter its source, because it's destroyed permanently for each wound it suffers. Your opponent, however, gets to decide which item they lose. It is a proper bullshit item, but while I say this, I think it's also important to say, when we reach Gal Mirage, you're going to realize that Warhammer Fantasy 4th edition and 5th edition is not very powerful with its magic items. That might sound stupid, but trust me, when we get to Gal Mirage, you're going to realize just how much this is just the slightest tip of an iceberg as to what this blade is capable of doing. Bluntly put, this, if the slan are right, and the slan are rarely wrong, this is the blade that they believed the Great Plan allowed for closing the gates. It just never got there.
I would say based on what the weapon does, I fucking believe it. Of that, it's basically what this weapon is this is a weapon that is, to put it in simplest terms, or almost like in SCP terms, this is a reality grounder of the most extreme kind. It is something that when it goes up against, because think about it, magic is basically just including magical creatures or things that are imbued with magic or have magic running through their blood and all this other stuff. They are essentially entities that are able to alter the fabric of reality using energy from another dimension. Yep. And this weapon says no.
Yep. It is, in the greater scheme of Warhammer artifacts, completely within lore. This isn't something that sounds strange and out with the realms of what is possible. And the Lizardmen are exactly the sort of people who could craft it. Ultimately, if you want to describe this in a different way, it's the anti-Zinch or anti-chaos or anti-warp. It's the anti-magical artifact. It's one of the reasons we didn't include all those other anti-magical artifacts, because this one makes them look like, well, shit. This one's amazing.
Yeah, this is an artifact that is so strong. You could have like a 5-part Wolfrip campaign that completely revolves around finding out what happened to it, where it is, if it still works, and then trying to get your hands on it. And it could be like a whole saga. It could, for all we know, it could be that maybe Aslan did find another gate, because there were several extra gates, and it got stabbed into the ground, and it's holding that gate shut or severed it. But then they all died in the aftermath, or who knows what. But this is, based on the way it's described, the way it works, this is a full-on god killer. If a god was struck with this, they cease.
No, not at all. I would not call this a god killer, no, because it's a physical manifestation. It wouldn't stop the magic stuff. Your god would just go back to the other side.
Oh, that's fair. It would
this
just
is not really a god killer. This is a reality. Blade Realities is about to come, but this is a reality almost certifier. Are you not from here? Then fuck off.
Yeah,
you
I do
not belong.
I guess
to
I should
here.
rephrase this. Yeah, I think this is genuinely one of the only weapons that could truly close a chaos gate, because it's quite literally severing, or it's patching. It's almost like patching a hole in the ozone. Like it cleaves that connection shut. The biggest problem with it is the delivery method.
Yeah, and I think the most likely story, if you're looking to theory craft where the fuck this thing is in your version, is that it's currently in a chaos gate, stopping it from being open, probably in Lustria, where one was opened during the Cataclysm, and it was closed by Kokachila, who's almost certainly now dead, or possibly still holding it to this day. So you can go and try and grab that fucker if you want, but it's almost certainly going to end in abject horror as hell invades through the hole you have now opened by mistake. So it's an artifact of extraordinary power, which is probably not under normal use, although in 5th edition Warhammer you could just take it in any Lizardman army, and it's from 5th edition for those who are interested.
I've never heard of it either. Before Andy mentioned it, he said it, I was like, that sounds like a Lizardman artifact. How have I never heard of it? And I even tried Googling it, and like nothing showed up, and I was like, Andy, what is this? And then he posted the card, and I read it and was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So the Lizardmen were added in the 5th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and the Battle Magic box set that came out with it is where this came from. So it wasn't inside the army list, but it was inside the Battle Magic box set.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put the poll up, but before we do keep in mind,
more to come.
Yeah, there's more to come, and this thing is very powerful, but ultimately it still has limitations. It still has to be wielded. Someone has to safely get it where it needs to go, and while it will protect you from magic, if you're getting charged by a bloodthirster or a dragon or something, you're still possibly gonna die.
Yeah, you 100% are gonna die. Yeah, it's just a very powerful anti-magical source. So how powerful do you think that should be on our list of the top items of Warhammer? S means there is nothing more powerful, which arguably is the case. C means there's nothing on this list, at least, that's weaker, which equally, you could argue under certain circumstances. You go wild with what you think it should be.
Yep. Oh man, I just realized that because of the way this thing works, I can create all of the polls in advance, and then I can just show and stop them when I want to. God, this is so nice. Big shout out again to Ross Watson for showing me this.
Our fellow Lorebeards have been diving into the software in a way that we just didn't.
Yeah, I know. Stephen Lucas, Fellblade, the Horus Heresy Space Marine. Oh, it's a Bane Blade. Vulcan is the immortal and the nicest Primarch who dies all the time. He often burns elves.
Yeah.
I like how you say nicest Primarch who dies all the time, and then follow that up with he burns Elf and Xenos children alive.
Well, that probably is the nicest Primarch.
I know, it's like, Bouncing Guild. Magic isn't real, idiot. The sword.
True fact.
It's a bully weapon. Don't try to pronounce it. I'm using an anonymous account because my boss also watches this channel after I introduced it to him. That is hilarious. That is the funniest. It's literally just an incognito account. That's great. Thank you.
You have made me happy. That's my favorite comment of the day. That's just brilliant.
That's very funny. Zero. Now there's someone else now watching this going, wait, which of my employees is watching this at work? Zero time. Andy, Kokaklia better be in the Path of the Old Ones campaign.
I'm saying nothing.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, that totally doesn't confirm anything. Giddy and Gleeful, are there any artifacts designed for a specific purpose that end up being very stable, but just not powerful enough for its intended purpose?
I mean, you could argue that many of the artifacts that have been crafted by the dwarves are exactly this. To be the best killy axe. It's just a relatively decent one with some runes on it. There's lots of examples of dwarves perfecting, refining, and attempting to make better their various runes. So you could argue pretty much almost all of them are that.
Yeah, I would say this is just the definition of runic weapons.
Yeah, it pretty much is. They are super stable too.
The Humble Scholar. The fact that it is designed to close the Chaos Gates makes me think it was forged by a 4th or 5th generation Slaawn, since that was their specialty. Yeah, that would kind of be one of the really fun ways to interpret and like deal with the weapon, of that you'd think it's like, oh, it's a 1st generation Slaawn or like one of the really powerful ones. Yep. No, it's actually one of the younger, very vigorous, almost warlike Slaawn that was like, I'm going to make a weapon to deal with this shit.
Yeah, hard agree with that one. Yeah.
Yep. Necromancer Cobalt, that sword literally devastates some of the strongest characters of Warhammer. Teclis, Nagash, Siege Champions, Thanquol, and Cathay Dragons. Now, against a Cathay Dragon, it would help you, but it would still, like, you're still fighting a fucking dragon. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember as well that Nagash, for all he is a super powerful wizard, is also just super powerful.
Yeah, so he's still like a 20-foot tall giant skeleton thing.
It is an item, though, that would end his ability to touch anything magic at all, which was pretty much his identity. So it would end Nagash as we understand him. Yeah.
Yeah, all of those creatures would be terrified of this weapon.
Would. Yeah. Across his bones and he's screwed. They would be terrified of this weapon if it were to come out. And you wouldn't be able to scry it because it's anti-magic.
Yeah, someone mentioned that in the chat that I was going to point out, that is for those that watch Lawhammer, this weapon's basically out of Millowith. Like, it's impossible to find through magical means.
Yeah, totally.
About 49 Kittens makes me wonder if perhaps it's connected to whatever's going on at Phlox in the lore. Very possible. There's a lot of weird things happening in parts of Lustria that this thing could be intimately tied in with.
Yeah, it's an item that I think matches Lustria in its modern form as well as it did when Lustria was recreated for the 5th edition of Warhammer. It hasn't changed that much anyway, but it doesn't add something that you go, oh, fuck off. That would never have existed in modern Warhammer. It totally would. This is exactly the sort of stupid shit that games like Total War go, hey, let's just bring it out. Yeah. It would fit into Total War pretty well.
Honestly, I need to message the devs about it because I bet they look at that and be like, oh, that's a great that's a great like super item we could put in the game.
Oh, it's a proper bonkers one. I love it.
Would the Hammer of Fate be good? The Hammer of Fate, I would say, is a near miss. Like, it's very powerful, but like it can't one-shot a Bloodthirster. It hits a Bloodthirster multiple times. So like it's up there. It's up there, but it's not quite on the list.
Yep.
All right. Captain Magma, with the Coca-Cola sword, cease to function if it were inside the realm of chaos, since that it is firmly outside of reality, or would it conform to the reality of the realm of chaos? I would argue you probably can't. I would say you probably can't take it with you into the realm of chaos.
I mean, if it was cast in a hypothetical situation, it would probably live in its own bubble of reality.
Yeah, there's actually a decent example of this in if you read the Liber Chaotica, you have this guy that is basically your guide that wanders around, and one of the things he talks about at a point in the book is about how there are people that come into it that they assert their own understanding. Like, the realm of chaos, when they're in it, isn't actually what they're perceiving. It more warps to fit what they're capable of understanding. And they are accidentally applying rules to this ruleless realm around them. If you were to chuck this sword in, it would probably basically make a pocket of a hard-coded reality within the realm of chaos, which would almost be like a pearl inside an oyster or something, where it'd have like a bubble around it. It'd be interesting.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and bring this poll to an end. So we have an overwhelming A tier for the Blade of Kokaklia.
Yeah, this one, I'm sort of torn on it. There's parts of me that go it's clearly an A, but there's parts of me that go it's clearly an S. But there's also parts of me that go it's clearly a B, and I vacillate for different reasons. And I think A is a nice, safe place for me, at least, in that there are some things on this list which are going to make this feel like it's not that impactful because it requires. It's just a little sword. It's not necessarily the most powerful thing ever, but it is enormously powerful in terms of how we understand the special characters of Warhammer, in that a significant number of them would be beyond terrified of this item's existence.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is that it would be S tier if it was more capable of defending the wielder from big stompy monster type things, which the world is full of, or if it wasn't a sword. Like if it was more like a diadem or something that just gave you the power without having to strike someone with it, I think that would make it S tier. I think A is very fair because it does have limits.
It does. And for all it is clearly a bullshit item that can go fuck off if you're using it in any game of Warhammer, I genuinely think it's a great Warhammer item. This is one of those ones where I look at it and go, it completely fits, it's really limited. It works only under very certain circumstances, and it's just awesome in terms of the implications for what it means for the Warhammer world. Really love it, but yeah.
Yeah, I will note at this point, as we always do as a time-honored tradition here on Lorebeards, at this point, that if you see anything that we have already concluded a vote on and you go, well, that's bullshit, that should be an S tier, or that's dumb, that should clearly be C tier, a mere $50 is all it takes to grab your favorite item and chuck it to some other part of the list. Anyway, moving on. Now we have
the channel at its best.
Yes. Now we have the Blade of Realities.
It's not even from the Warhammer world. Do you want to jump on this one?
Yeah, so the Blade of Realities is a weapon I dearly love. This was not created by the Lizardmen, which a lot of people think it was. This was an item made by, or at least found by the old ones. Probably made by them, knowing how shenanigan they get up to. And the Blade of Realities is very explicitly a weapon that was brought to the Warhammer world from somewhere else. The old ones brought it with them. And this weapon is a bizarre humming blade that sort of vibrates and almost is just constantly moving if someone looks at it. And what it does is that when it's slicing through the air, it cuts through all realities simultaneously. And so when it strikes you, and you're killed by it or wounded by it, you are killed and or wounded by it in every reality in existence. And this weapon on tabletop was hilarious bullshit. As a Lizardman player, when it was released in 7th edition, it was everyone's favorite weapon ever because you would slap it on Old Blood and your Old Blood would run up to a monster and hit it 5 times. And for every time they got hit, they had to take a leadership check. And if they failed one of them, so they take 5 checks, and if they fail one, they pop out of existence. No matter how many wounds they have, no matter what their saves were, no ward save, no armor save, no regen, no nothing. You could have 1 billion saves, toughness, billion, 2-up ward save, 2-up or -1 armor save, all that shit. It didn't care. It would instantly vaporize you out of existence. In 8th edition, they toned it down a little bit and made it where it just ignores all saves. You don't get ward saves, you don't get armor, you get nothing. Anything that hits hurts.
Yep.
It is one of the most heinous weapons that its lore implications were actually translated very brutally into tabletop terms. This thing destroys anything it touches. Like, it is a nightmare weapon.
Yeah, this is a fun one. But it is one that is, in terms of its description, given a very clear, it has to sever it.
Yes.
So you need the hits. That hit has to follow through, and there appears to be, if we go with the rule description, some sort of will battle going on to see if you're wiped out of all existence or not. In that, the rules say a leadership test because that's how they handle that sort of shit. But loosely, you get hit by it, and if it cuts you, you're gone. Now that's not cool. That's pretty shitty if you are anyone in Warhammer. And that is fun. To summarize this, because I'm very conversant with the fact that we're only 3 in, and we're coming up to our first hour.
Yay!
Let's just summarize this super quickly. It's a blade from another place that was brought to the Warhammer world for a reason, and that reason was to kill whatever the old ones thought needed to be killed. But not just here, in all realities, because this is a weapon that, if, for example, you were Be'lakor is also in 40k. Not if he gets killed by this weapon, he's not. That's 2 realities severed from both. And all of his impact on both comes to an end at the point of being cut by this weapon. It is a nasty, nasty item. But is it a world changer? And this is for you to decide. Do you think this is clearly an artifact of extraordinary potential in the right hands? But is this one of the most powerful artifacts of Warhammer? Is it more powerful, for example, than the anti-magic of the Blade of Kokachila? That's for you to decide.
Yeah, once again, it does have the limitations of it has to be wielded by someone that knows what they're doing. Yeah. If you give this weapon to like a skink, it's going to struggle to really do a lot, which is why you give it to an Old Blood on a Carnosaur.
I'm pretty convinced that Malekith was killed by this and Malarian took his place.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go. He's like, if I use a trademark, I can get around it.
Yeah, it's what Blade Reality sorted.
Yeah, that's why Malekith dies in the Marvel movie. Yeah, because our Malekith got cut. All right.
The truth.
Yeah, the poll is up. And while that's up, we're going to get caught up on Super Chats. Alpha, if I were to hit a Chaos God with the Blade of Kokachila, do you think it would prevent them from manifesting demons into reality? No.
No, I don't think so. It's not a weapon that is a god killer. It's a weapon that is a reality maintainer, for want of a better description. So if it was plunged into that body would be useless, but the god would still continue over inside the realm of chaos.
Yeah, I think it is a weapon that would be amazing at killing avatars of gods. Like if you hit Ariel or Konos with it, or Orion, things would get weird.
Them. Yeah, it ruins them.
EJ hits elf, still susceptible to Slanesh. I think the elf would have bigger problems, to be honest, because cutting an elf off from magic would be horrific for them.
Yeah, it's not saved their soul or down into their soul. You've just cut them off from magic. That's it. They're no longer magic users. It doesn't kill them.
Well, you know, it could, depending on how you stab them.
Stab it through them, yeah, totally.
Getting gleeful. Magos Rotz Watson found the most excellent STC. He did indeed.
Yes, he did.
He did indeed.
Thanks, Ross.
Super Skybro. Gothor stream when? We would love to do Gothor at some point. Character that's actually been through a really interesting evolution. He got depowered so hard in later editions. JK, you guys, love you guys, you rock. No, we want to do Gothor at some point. He's actually a really cool character. Sean Vidal, how would it affect elves as they're essentially ethereal beings with bodies? They would have a really bad time. I think you would basically be, it would be like destroying a part of what makes them feel like who they are.
Yeah, in the Lawhammer version of elves, they're fucked. In the Games Workshop version, if we went strictly by everything that there is out there, then I think it would be fair to say that it would just leave them bereft of who they are. There's a part of them that's missing, but it definitely would fuck them over badly.
Yeah. Would you guys ever do a stream about Throg? Yes.
Yeah.
We fully intend to at some point.
Yeah, we do. He'll be on one of our lists.
Belly Pinnery, my method of judging will be, no matter how powerful, can a shotgun shot stop whoever is wielding it? If the answer is yes, then it's at least below S tier. You know what? That's a fair method for you.
It's a good one.
It's not a method I would use, but it's a fair method.
Love it. You do you.
Filefoot, this is the Rick and Morty sword. It's probably drunk. Yeah, probably. Yeah, this would be a weapon that Rick would be terrified of. Yeah, this would be a spooky weapon for Rick. Bunston
would be gone.
What if you get hit by the Blade of Realities, but in a different reality you were holding the Blade of Kokachila? Woo, wouldn't that be an interesting paradox? You'd be dead. Oh yeah, I guess
that'd be it. You just die.
You just die. Because in that reality, the blade's not actually near you. You would need to have the weapon in the reality where you're fighting the guy wielding the Blade of Realities. The sort of retcons and plot holes, slushy record. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I think so too. It looks like we've got ourselves a pretty clear result there.
I agree. One. So we
looks
have
like we've got
another A tier.
Ooh. What do you think? Fair?
Yes, I do genuinely think it's fair. Because the weapon very much comes off as something that the old ones brought with them specifically to kill things from the ether. So it's a theoretical god killer. It's never been noted to kill a god, but theoretically it has the potential to kill a god.
Yeah. I vacillate in this one. I think it could be an easy B, because it's only good for killing the individuals who happen to get caught by it, and it's not a definite it's murdered immediately. For it to actually kill across all realities, there's clearly some sort of will component. And because of that, it means the strongest willed, our Teclises, our gods, are unlikely to be killed by it. They could. I mean, we're talking like a 1 in 10 chance. That's still really good odds, but it's still not perfect. And I don't think in comparison to some of the items here that it's quite as powerful.
Yeah, and that's why I actually think it should go below the other blade. The other blade just needs to scratch you and you're done. Like as far as being able to use magic, the Blade of Realities does actually have to kill you in order to get its full effect.
And it's really about individuals, where the Blade of Kokachila is quite clearly capable of taking out magic artifacts as well, taking down things like the whooshing compass.
And it has a defensive element. It blocks spells.
Blocks spells. Yeah, totally. It's got a more broader remit. So I feel that that one does make sense going in first.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm liking our list so far. We're
doing well, everyone. Right.
Yeah. Next is the Circlet of Iron. Now, this was once born by Malekith, but as we all know, Malekith was taken out by the Blade of Realities and became Malarian. And this is one of the ones that I really vacillated on as to whether it should be included, because it is so vague. But its vagueness also brings potential greatness as to exactly what it is. Much like the Blade of Realities, it has a somewhat uncertain source. The Blade of Realities was brought by the old ones to the Warhammer world. The Circlet of Iron, well, it was up in the realm of chaos in an ancient city where it was discovered by Malekith. This circlet of silvery iron with thorny-like protrusions coming out of it. And Malekith, being Malekith, went, I'll be having that. Slapped it on his head. And yeah, if we go by the book version, shenanigans went on involving undead, and they raised up, and he was like, yeah, chop, chop, chop. But what we have ultimately here is an artifact that took Malekith from being a powerful, very powerful dark elf sorcerer trained by the first dark magic sorceress, his mom. And took him to what is effectively nigh on god tier magic. Probably more powerful magic on magic than his mum under many circumstances. And why is that? Because it granted him access to, if we're just going to cut it up into a very quick description, what magic is. He literally, according to some descriptions, goes to the realm of chaos, receiving visions of where magic comes from, what magic is, and how to use it. That is interesting. Not just because he gets all of this from this uncertain source. And if you want a source for it, it's going to be difficult given where it is in the world. It's a civilization that apparently predates the elves.
Yeah, the only note we have about it is that the Circle of Iron itself is said to be older than the elven species, which that is like probably was already there either right after or long before the old ones even showed up.
Absolutely. Now, there's various stories you can take for this. One, it's from a species that predates the arrival of the old ones. One option. Number two, it's from a species that were teleported in when the Chaos Gates exploded. So an entire city arrives, probably a ruined one. And much like the Blade of Realities, you've got something from somewhere else. And it grants access to a proper understanding of what magic is. And it's a crazy item, bluntly. It makes you a very, very powerful sorcerer. Do you have any other important details you think you should add to this one?
No, I think that honestly covers it. It's one of those items. It is deeply, deeply mysterious, but to take someone who Malekith was not a bad wizard, but he was
a good one.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah. But like when you read the novels, it catapults, like as far as raw power goes, it catapults him to being one of the most powerful sorcerers in the world.
And in time, he becomes pretty much one of the most powerful sorcerers in the entire world.
Yeah, without like, it doesn't seem to have like a downside. Like there is the debate within the novels or within like the wider lore that, oh, well, maybe it's what drove Malekith down the path he went. But like when you actually read the stories and such, whenever you read the stories and such, not really. Like it doesn't really seem to have much of a corrupting influence other than it's just incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it's a fun one. No other way of putting it. And it's a powerful artifact. And I vacillated about including it. And the reason why is because it's so ephemeral. It's really difficult to pin this one down. But what we can say with certain is that it has allowed him, because there is nothing else magical-wise on top of this, and he doesn't have a great cauldron of blood he's bathing in. This is the thing that he has worn since the beginning. And he's still alive thousands upon thousands of years later as a master of magic, leading one of the greatest and most evil empires that the Warhammer world has to offer. Still with it upon his troubled brow. He is a master of magic and has somehow survived through and will eventually become a god with this artifact. This is something I couldn't not include. I mean, I kind of wanted to because it's so rare, but it has to be in here because this item has changed the Warhammer world. And it makes him a better magic user, so thus he is capable of holding off against a shotgun.
Using a shotgun against Malekith would be utterly
this
pointless.
One's a really tough one to play. So have a wee think as to where you think it should go. Get your votes in. Type 1, 2, 3, or 4 into the chat right now, and your vote will come in live. If you're watching this a day later, a year later, just assume that you voted wherever you voted.
Yeah, and you can always drop by our forum thread for this episode where there will be a pinned link for this tier list so you can make your own and post what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'm super keen to see what you all do over in Discord.
Gideon Gleeful. So, if some factions don't really have any god tier items, future stream idea, let's build a god tier item for X faction. That could be kind of a fun experiment.
Yeah, I quite like that one, Gideon.
That's actually a really good idea.
Something in that. Add that one to the list, Ryan. I quite like that one. I think there's definitely something to it. There's quite a few species that are missing them.
Yeah, like one of the biggest things, I'm sure Andy had this thought as well. One of the biggest disappointments for me was going through all the Chaos Dwarf stuff and finding nothing.
Yeah, none of their stuff just matches. And the Chaos Dwarfs, holy shit, they should have some shit in here.
Yeah, their magic item lists were always very conservative, which is a little disappointing. Gnivel, Axes of Grimnir would say Gotrek from a shotgun. Debatably, yes. I mean, to be fair, Gotrek does get shot with a gun in go read Orc Slayer, and it fucks him up pretty bad.
It does.
So, like,
yeah. He's just immortal.
Super Orlog. Obviously, the Circle of Iron was made by ancient gnomes. S tier.
I mean, he very could be.
Could possibly.
Get your S vote in. That could be it.
The Humble Scholar. I would not be surprised if Nagash found out about the Circlet of Iron via the Dark Elves and used that as a base for his creation of the Crown of Sorcery, as they seem kind of similar.
I mean, they're not dissimilar, but I don't necessarily think we need the tie there. I don't think it's necessary the Crown of Sorcery fulfills a specific purpose already, and it doesn't need someone to say, oh, well, I'm going to make it because I'm copying the thing from over there. I think it's fine as it stands.
Yeah, I would agree. Mr. YVJ, I'd argue that all weapons can't be more than A tier for the Anarian reason. He can't be everywhere at once.
You're right. You can't be everywhere all at once. It's pretty impossible, and it's a fair argument. But again, it depends upon how we're rating them personally, because you have your own way of rating it, and just how impactful that weapon could be. For example, if the Blade of Kokachila is thrown into the Chaos Gate and can close it, you know,
yeah,
right,
that
it
would
doesn't end
make it
everywhere all at once, but it has changed the Warhammer world forever.
Yep. Ben Fisher, maybe it's the Darth Vader armor keeping Malchus less Malarian alive after all these years. We have to remember that he was already very, very, very old for an elf before he gets put in the armor.
Yeah, there's definitely a story with Malekith as to exactly what's going on and how he keeps going. The story is probably tied into the circlet he wears around his brow. It makes sense because it's the clear difference that we have from other things. We do have other potentials. After all, his mum has access to all manner of, effectively, the equivalent to the elixir of life. She is immortal. Yep. And passing that down to her son is definitely something she would hold over him. And
yes,
the circlet seems to be a way of freeing himself potentially from his mother's influence.
Yep, I'll let Andy read this one.
Andy sure vacillated a lot when making this list. I did. I like to vacillate. And I was swaying from side to side, and Ryan was doing exactly the same thing concerning some of them because it's difficult to decide which ones are or are not powerful.
Yeah, we spent a lot more time arguing internally than externally.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we basically said, here's my list, right, that's the list, we're done. But when it came to what we were doing at home,
yeah. The last one, theater. God tier item for Bretonnia, they need better gear. I agree. The fact that the Bretonians don't have
an example of one. We almost included one, but we couldn't define it, and it was the Grail. But we can't define the Grail because the Grail is held by a goddess, and it's almost just an extension of that goddess's power and has no individual capabilities. Whilst we could associate certain things with the Grail, that could all come from the goddess. So there is no way to use the Grail, but the Grail would be a perfect god tier item for Bretonnia.
Yeah, because it's absolutely genuinely bonkers. And I would agree that it's kind of a shame that there isn't like a big Bretonnian item that's like some horrific elven war device from the War of Vengeance that was like buried beneath one of the cities that they found. That would make such a good super item for Bretonnia.
And again, if you're watching, please remember to get your vote in. Type 1, 2, 3, or 4 into the chat. Whether you're on Twitch or whether you're on YouTube, it will count.
Yep. Necromancer Cobalt, imagine a Coca-Cola sword, but a Chorf rifle. Yes, that
as in the blade of Kokachila.
Yeah, but it's also a gun
instead. So like an obsidian rifle, or obsidian blunderbuss. Just
yeah, honestly, that's almost sounds like something the Chaos Force would be able to mass produce. Does, honestly. Okay, we're gonna go ahead.
We've got a missed one just to make sure that that's caught. I didn't see one getting missed, but that doesn't mean it wasn't. Oh, there's so many 1s, 2s, and 3s and similar. Well, while you're checking that, I
don't see a missed one, but feel free to just type it as a normal comment and we'll just grab it.
Yeah, we'll grab it.
All right. We're going to call time on that one. And chat has firmly put it in the B tier.
What do you think to be then?
So I agree. And I think it's because the amount of mystery surrounding the Circlet of Iron does it a huge disservice for the sake of this poll. It's good for world building, but it's rough for the sake of how powerful is it really.
I absolutely agree. This item could easily be an S tier one, given how much it potentially changed the world. But it's potential. It could be nothing more than something that's massively enhancing his magic. And whilst that's nice, it's hardly the most important thing in the world. There's various artifacts that, if we just go with Warhammer Fantasy battle rules, do exactly the same job. The Books of Nagash, Book of Asher, there's a bunch of them out there. Teclis has got something similar with his good old Warcry of Safri. So, yeah, it's potentially important, but it's not quite firm enough to be certain.
Yeah, and I think because of that, I'm going to stick it in lower B tier, just because it's so ill-defined at the end of the day.
I agree. Oh, we did get that comment.
Oh, yeah, we did get that one.
Yeah, we got that one. Don't worry, we didn't miss it. We did bring it up.
Yeah, we had a whole little chat about it.
Yeah, we did.
All right, so that will take us off of that. And then we're off to the Crown of Sorcery.
Ah, this is an easy one. So what I recommend is go watch our stream about the Crown of Sorcery. We did it just last Sunday, and for 3 hours we waxed lyrical about exactly what the crown is and isn't. In summary, if we're going to keep it super short, Nagash pours all of his hatred and lust for power, and more importantly, his need to concentrate his magics into his hat. And his hat, if we go with one version of the lore, amplifies his power 1,000-fold. Now, you might go, that sounds stupid. 1,000 times more powerful than your average wizard. Isn't that what the Circlet of Iron does? Actually, yes. They're both very similar. Massively amplifies power. And we have proof from Nagash that he did it. Because the great ritual came about because he was wearing his hat. And he was capable of doing something more than your standard raise the dead spell, where you get an army. Oh no, he did raise a continent. And that's pretty impressive stuff. Now, as to, does it save you from a shotgun? Well, arguably it allows you to do more magic. So, arguably, yes. It also contains a piece of Nagash's essence. So, that's both a good thing and a bad thing, because it is entirely separate to Nagash. Nagash does not need to be sentient, awake, alive for this hat to have a chat with you and give magic to anyone. And indeed it can. Anyone who wears this has magic equivalent to like a master necromancer, a very powerful necromancer, because the hat sits down, has a chat with you, explains how to make it work. Even if you can't use magic, the hat will do the magic on your behalf. It just needs you wearing it. Now, does this make it the most powerful artifact in Warhammer? Well, that's for you to decide. It is a gigantic hat that can apparently change size. It is capable, this great crown, of using magic effectively by itself. It contains a part of Nagash's soul, and when it's in the right hands, Nagash's, it enormously amplifies his magical powers. But does that make it more powerful than anything else?
Yeah, it's worth noting that the biggest difference between like the Crown of Sorcery and the Circle of Iron is that the Crown of Sorcery is much better defined, and the fact that it is able to take creatures that cannot use magic, like an orc, they can't use magic traditionally, and it just makes them into a very, very powerful wizard the second they put it on. Very spooky. It also, debatably, and now granted, this is debatable, this is up to you to decide, it seems to give people potentially the knowledge or even the power to ascend to godhood.
It certainly gives them the desire to, and it is full of an extraordinary amount of knowledge, but it's very specific in that when it was worn a very, very long time ago by Caden, he managed to basically interrogate the hat to write the entirety of the 9 books of Nagash. He also interrogated the hat to provide him with the full story of what Nagash's life was like. And it appears that Nagash, who was dead at the time, dead, reforming would be a better way. Not sentient, perhaps, would be a good way of putting it. Nagash, who was not there having a chat with him, was incapable of stopping that from occurring. Caden got a lot of history from it, but it is ultimately very specific history. It's not the history of the world as a whole. It's the history of what Nagash knew.
So, with that, we're going to start this poll, and we are going to see what y'all think. What tier is the Crown of Sorcery?
The Hat of Nagash.
Yep, because it do be a weird one. Hi Lindsay. Hi Lindsay.
Hiya. I trust you can't get to sleep then.
Because
still
the
an
essence
hour and
of
a
each
half
one
or so to go before the stream's over. I'm not coming over yet.
Soon. Okay, so we got Getting Gleeful. It's obviously lower than these. But how would the Cauldron of Scrag the Slaughterer rate in general? So first I'll say, if you haven't already, pop by the Lorebeards community tab on YouTube. There's a poll up right now for the August 30th episode of Lorebeards, which you can vote. One of the options is Scrag the Slaughterer. We would delve into this in detail. Scrag's Cauldron, it's a powerful item. It's basically a conduit to the Great Maw.
Yeah.
Which is impressive. Is it on this? Does it deserve to be on this list? Hell no. But it's spooky. And wielded by Scrag, it is something that can define the outcome of entire battles with colossal armies. So it's definitely a powerful artifact, but it's not a world changer.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The Humble Scholar, without the Cities of Sigmar, Crown of Sorcery. Strigoi, the Strigoi does not grow. Caden does not advance Amber Magic. Sigmar dies fighting Nagash. Azag's invasion does not happen. Probably the second or third most important item on this list.
It is an item
that is a way to interpret it.
Yeah, and don't forget the entirety of the Land of the Dead, which came about because of this.
Yeah, the Tomb Kings wouldn't even exist.
They wouldn't even exist. So this hat has been impressive in its impact, even if it's not necessarily an item that you might go, well, this is core to peak Warhammer.
Yeah, and don't forget, anyone out there, if one of these is your favorite items, you can always fudge the vote. You can always fudge the vote for $50 if you're a true follower of Nagash. Getting a gleeful Essence of Nagash, the new fragrance from Chanel. That would probably be the most disgusting smell. It just smells like
it would be
dusty bone marrow. Karl Franz, Emperor of Mandeville. Gotrek's Axes of Grimnir with the Chaos God killing Rune of Unbinding to not Umgak above S, of course. Well, that would require $50. But it's not Umgak. It's not Umgak on here. But because just being on here is a great honor. It's a great honor.
Last moments. If you want to get your votes in, tap it into the comments now. 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yep, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Get your last votes in because this one, it's not super close, but it's kind of close. I will say, God, this is so much easier than the old system. Oh my God, this is so much better than the old system.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we're not making terrible time too. We're doing okay. We're about halfway. We're doing okay. All right,
we've only done 4. We're not doing great for time.
Yeah, we're not doing great, but we're doing all right. We'll go ahead and call time on that. Oops, I clicked the wrong button. There we go. Time.
So we have a Nagash. Crown of Sorcery is 8
here.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, this is where to put it is genuinely kind of tricky.
Not for me. The Hat of Nagash for me is an item that is enormously powerful in Nagash's hands only. Everyone else's hands, it's a bit too weak. That being the case, I feel that it is an easy B. So for me, it sits beneath both of those blades. But that's my personal. What do you think?
Yeah, I a part of me is swayed by the comment about its impact on the world. Of these items, it has had by far the most influence on Warhammer Fantasy's timeline. But I think me and Andy are approaching this as what is the most powerful items, and
without Nagash, that item.
Yeah, without Nagash, it's just not it.
Yeah, quite. Yeah.
Now, if we had done what we did with the 6 Treasures of Chaos, and we did like the Artifacts of Nagash as a slot, I could see it being a hefty up A tier. But
agreed.
I think for this, bottom of A is a more than generous place to put it.
Well, that being the case, I think it's time for us to head into the dodecahedron.
Actually, Gotrek says, Grimnir! And jumps like we're playing Vermintide all the way up to S tier.
The Axes of Grimnir are sitting at the top. Take that, Chaos. Nice one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karl Franz, representing the forces of order.
Representing the forces of order. Proper. So, time for a bit of dodecahedron fun. What do you think of that one, Ryan?
Yeah. Okay. So the dodecahedron of Continental Drift, which, yes, sorry, I goofed earlier. It's not a D20, it's a D12. So the dodecahedron of Continental Drift, if you're sitting there going, the what of what of what? This was an item that was introduced near the death of Warhammer Fantasy. It was one of the very last books, which was the Monstrous Arcanum.
Yep.
And the Monstrous Arcanum was very explicitly designed to be the hey, what if we took all the most bullshit concepts we could possibly think of, throw them at the wall? Like, everything in this book has to at least be like 500 points or more. Like, it is a very goofy, over-the-top book that was meant for you to be playing with things that could annihilate entire, like, countries effortlessly. And you're dealing with super monsters and all sorts of crazy nonsense. It's a kaiju book. And when I was looking through all of the items, some of them were mysterious, some of them were fun, some of them were interesting. This item is truly monstrous. So what it is it is an artifice that was created by the old ones. And it is a 12-sided device that is very, very difficult to work. It takes an incredible amount of intelligence to interact with it. And without the winds of magic, it will not turn. The winds of magic have to be blowing strong in order for it to work. But if you can get it to work, it controls the tectonic plates of the Warhammer Fantasy planet. So it allows the user to change how the world is shaped. And in the actual tabletop, it lets you change the terrain of the table by creating hills, mountains, moving things around. This weapon, this item, as far as like a stable planet is concerned, is a world-destroying cataclysmic weapon of mass destruction.
Yep. Imagine, if you can, the movie Hellraiser. And you pull out the configuration and you summon hell by twisting the various facets from one side to another. This is Warhammer's equivalent, but instead of summoning hell, you turn the world into hell. If you don't know what you're doing, you can properly bork everything. It is a bluntly ridiculous artifact in the correct hands because it is a literal artifact of the old ones. This is one of the items used by the old ones to reshape the world. This works presumably along the lines of the geomantic web, that is the great lines of magic that intersect all parts of the Warhammer world. And it uses, presumably, those great wells of magic to reshape the world. On the small scale, the local scale, it can move any mountains, lakes, deserts, or any equivalent. It can shift them around with relative ease if you are an expert. If not, you're probably going to bork it up completely or do nothing, because it is an extremely complicated device. It has to be moved in the correct ways for it to work. So this is a device that requires a certain amount of not just intelligence to use it, but intelligence in terms of information. Without the correct understanding of how it works, you're just not going to get this thing to do anything proper. This requires you to actually understand the device. So it's something that requires a little bit more than simply twisting sides around, but it is nevertheless proper powerful.
For reference, this was an item that in 8th edition cost 250 points to put on a character.
Yeah.
And the text is said to have been left behind by the old ones. This peculiar object can be used to remake the world. Each alteration to the dodecahedron's external matrix is reflected on the land around the user. Its ill-considered use can easily prove catastrophic.
Yeah.
And also it had a really funny rule that they really encouraged you to use what were known as battle boards at the time, which is that a regular Warhammer game would have 6 battle boards together. And the way you were intended to use it is if you cast this spell, you'd pick up one of the battle boards and switch it with one of the other battle boards, keeping everyone where they are on that board.
It's a proper ridiculous item for a game that normally has a maximum top limit of 150 points for a magic item. It's bonkers. It's a
it is. Yeah, sorry, it's in the Storm of Magic book, not the Monstrous Arcanum, but same rule set.
Magic.
Yeah, it's a Storm of Magic item.
I'd forgotten that entirely. So there you go. Where do you think this item sits on the tier? How powerful and potentially world-ending is it? Do you think that this artifact is just locally capable? Or do you think that it is, as intended, a potential world shaper? That's for you to decide. It's an S, A, B, or C. What do you think we should do with the dodecahedron of continental drift, not dodecahedron of local drift. This is continental drift.
Yeah, for those of you that have ever wondered, oh, how did the Slan of the second, I think it was the second generation, move the continents into the places they are in order to fit the Great Plan? This is it.
This is it.
This is what they used. Like, it's silly. It's a silly thing that I love because it makes sense within the setting.
Yep.
Funstone, was there ever an item everyone thought was a powerful magic artifact, but turns out the power was coming from the wielder the whole time?
I mean, there's probably somewhere, but I can't think one off the top of my head.
So, okay, this is one of those weird ones where if you want to get super technical with the lore as it's written, so I want to be really clear. This is the lore as it's explicitly written. This is kind of Galmaraz, in a sense where it has been written to have power-up moments where it like unlocks its power. You can see this in the written version, the third battle of Blackfire Pass with Karl Franz, where he unlocks the full potential of Galmaraz, and it goes from being like a strong hammer to being something else.
Godhammer!
Yeah. So these types of items, they do exist. Another example is the Hand of the Gods, wielded by Krokgar, where it went from it's a prosthetic arm that's pretty cool and it shoots laser beams to it ascends him to pseudo godhood or something at the end of the end times. We never figure out what the fuck that was about. Where he's able to like tank a move from a greater demon that instantly kills everything around him. Or sorry, a demon prince being a vermin lord. And a demon prince vermin lord runs away from him in terror because of the Hand of the Gods, but we don't understand why, which is why it's not on this list, because it's really, really nebulous and weird. So they exist, but they tend to be inconsistent at best. Because it's usually just that writer. And it's often another writer's probably not going to do the same thing.
Yeah, you tend to find that most of the magical artifacts, when they're written out by various authors, suddenly inflate in power according to the need of the story at hand.
Yeah, that's very true. Jonathan King, thank you so much for the 8 months.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Super appreciated.
Benjamin, would it be good to add part of the criteria to be in the hands of a regular Joe for its power? So that kind of falls under, that's up to you.
It's up to you.
Because y'all are using your own subjective systems, like the guy who's like, could it stop a shotgun? That's a very reasonable subjective system.
I mean, because this one wouldn't. This one wouldn't stop a shotgun easily an A by that
unless
system.
you turned it really fast to make the shotgun wielder go far away from you.
You're over there now.
Yeah. All right. I think that this poll looks pretty overwhelmingly.
It really does look pretty overwhelming, doesn't it?
Yeah, which I would say
dodecahedron of continental drift.
Yeah, which I would say, yeah, you think?
Yeah, this one for me is obviously top tier in terms of its impact upon the Warhammer world in the right hands. Sure, we get an orc with it, he fucks about with it, and he causes an earthquake. We're not really talking about anything significant. It's going to be local. But if you give this to a Slan, a very powerful old wizard, a Cathayan dragon, and give them time to figure it out, then the continents themselves of the Warhammer world could change. And indeed, in the correct hands, you got to think, would the realm of chaos be the same way that it is today? Could it be shifted, moved somewhere else? That would be in the hands of a greater demon. Horrendous. So yeah, this one could change the Warhammer world. Seems to be a relatively easy S.
Yeah, I would hard agree, but I will respect the bribes, so it has to sit below the axes of Grimnir.
So it sits below. I think that's fair.
Grimnir said, of course, I throw my axe.
But that it's out of our hands.
It's out of our hands. All right, next up, we have our one lovely little entry from the Skaven, the Fellblade.
Yeah, this is one that for me is a certain inclusion. Even though you might go, are you sure? Because for me, this blade is quite unlike most of the other blades that are included here. Because this blade is horrendously powerful in terms of its ability to kill. Now, why do we say that? Because it is one of those items that has stats, and we can see it for what it is. And it kicks the ass of every other artifact in terms of slaying capability on this list. If you look at any other item here, this one is more capable of killing someone in the Warhammer world. It is that powerful. All of the Grey Seers poured everything they had into this. They needed something to kill Nagash. They needed it. And they created a blade of such terrible power that no one could even really touch it without themselves corrupting and dying. And they very tentatively handed it over to one of Nagash's greatest enemies and say, quick, kill him quick. You don't have long. You're not going to live long if you are holding this blade. Go. They didn't do that bit because they're Skaven. They just said, here, take this ridiculous sword, go kill Nagash. And Alcatazar does. And this cannot be in any way walked away from. The easy answer here, particularly from you Nagash stands, would be to say, but Nagash didn't die! Wrong.
Yeah, he did.
Nagash is completely carved into 1,000 pieces as Alcatazar wails on him, and Nagash can do fuck all to stop it. The greatest sorcerer is admittedly in a state of some, I've just cast the biggest spell, the Great Ritual, the biggest spell to turn all of the land of undead.
He's in his refractory period, yeah.
He's having a bit of a rest, but nevertheless, he still woke up, put up his hand, and that hand got carved off. That hand that was probably, almost entirely warpstone and not entirely difficult to keep together. That just got pulled apart by the Fellblade. Now, just so that we can do a rare thing on Lorebeards, because the game in Warhammer was specifically using this sword to show what the most powerful blade could be. In Warhammer, you have stats ranging from 1 to 10, and it's strength 10. Do you want to know what else is strength 10 in Warhammer? Fuck all!
Yeah,
pretty much nothing is strength 10. Dragons are strength 6.
Yeah, nothing until we got to the Uber Kaijus of the last book.
4 or 5, depending upon who's wielding it. This is a proper, ridiculous weapon. Every wound it causes is D6 wounds. For those of you who know your Warhammer, you go, oh shit, that doesn't sound good. Because it's not. Now, can it be stopped under the right circumstances? Yeah, sure. But even the slightest nick, and this thing is killing you. It is horrendous. The most killy of all blades in Warhammer. But there's a downside. Whoever carries it will die because the blade is that corrupting. You don't turn into a mutant. You just have all your life sucked out of you, such as the anti-life magics that have been wreathed through it. The death magics in many respects. The corruptive magics the Skaven thrust into this to end Nagash. Now, the Skaven weren't to know that Nagash had prepared for this. He had. Nagash does get beaten, but his body, which the Skaven grab and throw into Great Warpstone fires so that he can never come back, burns, and all those little tiny motes drift into the air, fly all the way down to the land of the dead, gather inside the Black Pyramid, and he just reforms. But he was, for want of a better description, killed. The Fellblade succeeded. Alcatazar then dies not long afterwards up in the Middle Mountains. This item is extraordinary for killing potential only. Now, did it change the Warhammer world? Yeah, it did. Yeah. Nagash vanished for what? First time round was 1,000 and odd years?
Yeah, and I will say, this is one of the things I do like the End Times notes of that. So long as the blade existed, it was always sapping parts of Nagash. Like, Nagash had to have the Fellblade destroyed
completely,
properly get back to his old power. Because even at a fall distance, it was still sapping him.
Yeah, so it felt like it had to be included. Now, is this a god killer? No. It's a real world killer. This kills things in the real world. This isn't a blade that's designed to try and kill demons. Although, if you get a manifested demon and it hits it,
I'm sure a demon would be like, die. "Oh shit, get that away from me!"
Yeah, I mean, even a greater demon of Nurgle's getting wounded on a 2+ and just dying. This thing sucks. It's proper killy, and that D6 wounds just is the worst. I love this artifact.
It's basically
for multiple characters.
It's basically all of our great, like all of the dread that you feel watching the show Chernobyl. It's all of that squeezed into a sword.
Yeah, totally. It's a fun one, but again, it's very specific. Do you think this makes it high tier, low tier? That's entirely up to you. This is one we felt we couldn't not include because it was successful in killing Nagash. It's just too iconic. It has to be in there. But do you think that this one deserves to be, well, S, A, B,
polls up,
or C? Type
1, 2, 3, 4
or 4 in the chat right now, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube. It will register the vote here.
Joe Logan, I think the full power Karstein ring should be here, even aside from the regeneration, the ability to control the entire vampire race. So, the Karstein ring, yeah, this is a reasonable argument. This is a very reasonable, powerful artifact. I think the biggest reason me and Andy, well, I won't speak for Andy, I'll speak for myself. The biggest reason I did not include it on the list is that the ring's power is notable. It is powerful, but it is conditional, and it also takes a lot of time. The ring is not tabletop, obviously is generous with his interpretation, but when you read Vlad's story, he does not come back the millisecond after he dies. When he dies, it takes him a while to come back, like at least several days or hours, depending on how he was killed. It kind of like puts him back together. And the vampire controlling aspect ended up not being nearly as good as it should have been. Like Nagash designed it. Yeah, Nagash designed it, but the ring was clearly flawed.
Yeah.
Deeply flawed.
Yeah, this is an item that has a whole story to itself, and I think is very powerful for what it does. But it does seem to be conditional on Nagash as well, in that the vampire controlling aspect is not something that comes later.
Yeah, and also it only works on
later
vampires.
Manifestations of the Karstein ring does not have all vampires following that ring. It just doesn't, because Nagash goes, fuck you. It appears to be more of a Nagash thing than the Karstein ring itself. The Karstein ring, its only true inherent power appears to be the regeneration. What it doesn't appear to be is the full control. That was what Nagash gave to ultimately one of his captains. And then when they all betrayed, he was like, fuck you all. And that part just doesn't seem to really be a core component of the ring anymore.
Yeah, it is. Is it a emperor making weapon? Yes. Or item? Yes. Is it a world changer in a really strict definition? Potentially. But all it does is it takes...
It didn't.
Yeah, it didn't. And it takes
didn't.
the natural regeneration that many vampires have, and it kind of kicks it up to 11 when they die, which is very specific. Is it very, very cool and interesting and powerful? Yes. Does it deserve to be on this list? I would say pretty strongly no.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that were on my list for potential inclusion, but much like the Hat of Nagash, it requires very specific circumstances, and those circumstances are, if we go with the novels, somewhat woolly. So for me, it was an easy one not to include.
Stephen Lucas, do you remember that King Alcatazar crushed Nagash when he was at his first pinnacle before eating an elf kid under the Fellblade's 302-ton treads? Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna move on from that. Franz for man. Slight correction. Yeah, Storm Magic.
Yeah. Thanks.
Same set of rules, but yeah. Humble Scholar, Nagash may actually be the most powerful metal wizard in the world too, given his ability to make such mighty artifacts and constructs. Screw Gelt.
Yeah, thanks for that, the Humble Scholar. Completely agree. But I do think it's important to note that Nagash is one of the better master forges that Warhammer has to offer. He has created some extraordinary artifacts, and he has forged. I mean, look at his claw alone.
Go watch our last two Sunday streams where we went into that in depth.
Yeah, I agree.
Carl Franz, the Emperor of Man. Didn't the Grey Lords need to shield Alcatazar? Yes, but that had nothing to do with the Fellblade. That was to just make sure Alcatazar himself didn't die. Well, didn't die faster than he was already dying.
Yes, but also because they were trying to stop him from Nagash killing him, if you go with the story. Nagash goes, and they're like, no, and Greyseers die. Because the full mighty Nagash is thrust.
The Fellblade did not give a flying fuck about Nagash's attack.
Correct.
Alcatazar's mortal body did very much.
Absolutely. It's not a defensive weapon. It is an attacking weapon. And unbeknownst to him, Alcatazar had a lot of rat men on side.
Yep. Gnivel, isn't the Mace of the Sky Titans all strength 10? It is. The Scepter of the Sky Titans, it is a powerful weapon, but all it does is it makes your swings colossally powerful, but it's very, very material in the damage it does. It's not like the Fell Blade, where if you get if someone just cuts you with the Fell Blade, or you're just holding it, it's killing you.
Yeah, it's killing you. Yeah, it's the Sky Titans one is a big solid whack. The Fell Blade is a killing blade.
Yeah. Necromancer Cobalt. I love the Fell Blade. It's the crack baby of all Warhammer's collection of London knives.
I love the Fell Blade too, but largely because I have a lot of Skaven armies where I've used it and it's super fun.
Yep. All right, and with that, we're gonna.
It's kind of splitting this one. That's quite fun.
Okay, y'all were all over the place, which is good. That's a nice controversial vote. But ultimately, it ended up in A tier. Interesting.
A tier, interesting. Not where I would have put it. The Fell Blade for me is extraordinarily powerful, but way too flawed. For me, it's a massive impact upon the Warhammer world in terms of what it did to Nagash. Good deployment of item by the Skaven, but required a lot of support. It would be for me an easy B or maybe even C.
Yeah, personally, I think I would put it in C tier. It's kind of it's so narrowly focused on a singular goal that it did accomplish, but that's like all it's good for.
Agreed. It is an extraordinarily powerful killy blade, but for me, I'd have probably C'd it. But that's because
we respect the people's vote, so it'll go to the bottom of A tier.
So, Galmaraz, I've got a few things to say in this one.
The Warhammer.
Surely the Warhammer is going to be S tier, right? Buckle up. So, the Warhammer, Galmaraz. This is a weapon that was forged by, if we go with the most commonly used source, Smednir, an ancestor god. Now, admittedly, it has got on...
Intervention from the council, yes.
Fellblade is clearly much more important than anyone says. So
yeah, okay. I still think it's worse than the Axis of Grimnir.
Captain, would you like it to go up to S, or in classic Skaven fashion, do you just want it to go to C?
Oh yeah, sorry, I should have asked. Does the council is the council sabotaging itself?
You gotta ask, because you never can be certain with Skaven. So
okay, yeah, he did say yes. Okay, just making sure.
So if we go with, I'm gonna pull this one up. If we go with the original Galmaraz, it looked like
S,
this.
but he said S, but can it please fall to C over the course of the stream? Yes, it can.
I love that.
That's so good. It'll degenerate
like that. So there's Galmaraz. It's a big, huge stone axe with a gigantic green orb in it. And that was the first version of Galmaraz. And we were told that Galmaraz was, as the story goes, given by the High King of the Dwarves, Kurgan Ironbeard, to the young Sigmar for saving his life. And it was a hammer of his ancestors, a super important one. But I will also note to you right now that this super important hammer of the ancestors has no backstory beyond that. We don't have the hammer of Sigmar being wielded by previous High Kings in all the novels, which you would presume it would be if it was that important. Nope, not at all. In the slightest. It just appears from nowhere at the end of the Goblin Wars, or the Great Wars that wipe out the dwarfs, and is given to Sigmar. And Sigmar goes to town with it. And he takes this hammer, and he builds himself his first empire, kicks in some orcs and goblins, and eventually, some 50 years after forming the empire, abdicates. This weapon, for all it is pretty much an extraordinary weapon, presumably forged by the gods, is then dubiously covered by Warhammer in various books. Either it is passed on to the next line of emperors, as various editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle have suggested, or Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay tells a different story, where a copy is passed down and the real hammer holds a greater demon in another plane of existence. So the hammer is not just a hammer for boshing things, it can also be used apparently as some form of key to hold demons in place. Interesting, it should be given to Sigmar. Now, this hammer, by Games Workshop standards, takes on multiple forms. The first form being the one I showed you. The next form being this, of all things. Look at this tome. Look at that. That has got griffins on it and all sorts. But the Hammer of Sigmar that we all know and love, the one that
weirdly imperial iconography on that hammer.
Yeah, indeed.
That
the
dwarf hammer.
Sigmar, go look at the Hammer of Sigmar. Now, go take a look online. You've got moments. Go search it up. You'll get loads of images of this squat, square-headed hammer with an imperial cross in the middle of it and dwarf runes underneath, with a long shaft. With and some versions, griffins on it. Other versions, we have other imperial symbology on it. But basically, empire symbols on the hammer that predates the empire. So what we've got is a hammer that is covered with modern-day empire insignia, but literally nothing to do with the dwarves. It just appears just before the reign of Sigmar. And it is a hammer that is relatively powerful. And I say relatively, because for all it's the Warhammer, if we look at the rules of it, all it does is the Master Rune of Alaric the Mad and the Master Rune of Scalf Blackhammer, much like the Runefags, it automatically hits, and it automatically causes wounds. Well, it doesn't automatically hit, it automatically wounds. And it's fine, it ignores all your armor, it smashes through it, but it's not all that. But it once was. Because if we go back to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay First Edition, that hammer, if you threw it, came back like Thor's fucking hammer, because it had the equivalent of a Master Rune of Flight on it. That hammer would kill any demon it smacked into. That hammer killed almost anything it smacked into. But it got nerfed massively in Warhammer 4th Edition and never got brought back. Ever. From 4th Edition up to 8th Edition, it is just a hammer with 2 Master Runes and 3 or 2 lesser runes on it, more than is normally allowed. But there is methods in the setting for how this can happen. Alaric the Mad does it with the Rune Fangs, for example. It's a powerful hammer, but it is not a god-slaying hammer, a god-capable hammer. It's none of those things. But once it sort of was. If we go back to the first edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, it was fucking impressive. But the version that we have come the end times isn't. Instead, it is a focus of Sigmarite faith. And that focus of faith has imbued it with a certain amount of residual power that it may not have had, you could argue. Another way of viewing it is, come the end times and magic waxes, the master runes in it do stuff, much like we discussed with the Axes of Grimnir. And they activate and they become more. But the Hammer of Sigmar itself is not a weapon of building empires. It is not a weapon that is particularly good in combat. It's decent, and when you need to, you often do well, but not always. Sigmar is what made the Hammer of Sigmar so fucking impressive. It's an odd one, because the story of the hammer is contradictory, uncertain, and vacillates between, because vacillate is now the word of the day, vacillates between being one of the most powerful artifacts Warhammer has to offer on one side, where it has abilities to be thrown and pulled back and all sorts of stuff, or it's just a very good runic hammer that was presumably created, if we go with the stories, by Smednir and kept in the dwarf armories. Not even used. We have no proof of it being used until it was given to Sigmar. And that makes for an interesting story. There's tons more I could say in this, but I'm very aware we don't have that much time. And I'm sure Ryan has some things he'd like to add. But loosely, we've got a hammer that, across Warhammer, has had different faces, different shapes. We've got a hammer that once was powerful, but now kind of isn't. It's just a dwarf runic item. But that just a dwarf runic item with Master Runes on is still exceedingly powerful. But there's loads of Master Rune covered items. There's a ton of Rune Fangs, for goodness sake. And it's not that much more than those. So where do you think that lands?
Yeah, ultimately, this one's kind of interesting of if you're dealing with, even when you read the stories, the raw power of Galmaraz is often not the point of the weapon. It's more of it accentuates Sigmar's willpower and his drive to do the impossible and gives him just enough of an edge that when he goes up against impossible foes, when he gets to the point that he's able to land that hit on their head, which he inevitably does, it's enough to bring them down. But it's not like some of the other weapons we've talked about on here, where if he just taps them with it, they're boned.
Yeah.
He's kind of got to land a headshot with it. And many of the emperors that came after Sigmar, many of them didn't wield Galmaraz in favor of other weapons, or if they did, it wasn't all that great in their hands. It has much more power in the modern lore as a symbol.
Thing. Have you got Discord pinging on? Because I'm hearing Discord pinging on. I think.
Oh, that's weird that you can hear that. Okay, I just deafened it.
There we go. Good, thanks.
Okay, I didn't realize I'd be able to hear it.
I thought it was just me that could hear it, but I just noticed the chat was hearing it too.
My apologies. Like I said, been messing with things over on this side. So, ultimately, Galmaraz as a symbol is incredibly powerful. Which is interesting. It's one of those things where it's just a very bizarre debate about what do you think defines Galmaraz. Yeah. But we are here talking about it as an artifact. But you could say, because of what it represents, it is one of the most powerful artifacts in the setting because of what it stands for and what it drives people to do. And it is fundamental to the whole a regular human being able to stand against demigods storyline. Yep. And in that sense...
because of the Master Rune of Alaric the Mad is extraordinarily powerful, but so
it do whack
all artifacts with the Master Rune of Alaric the Mad. It will go through anything. It will go through stone, it will go through metal, it will go through other magical artifacts, it will blast anything in its path, but so do the Rune Fangs. So do all the weapons of Alaric. So do all the runes that, all the weapons part.
It really is like a Rune Fang plus.
It's like a Rune Fang +1. At least as it's determined inside the game. But it's also a center of faith for the cult of Sigmar. And Sigmar himself is, after all, the patron of the Empire. But that is ephemeral at best. Normally, that's no better than carrying a normal hammer in Warhammer. There's multiple stories in Warhammer where a hero picks up a hammer, feels the power of Sigmar, and kills an important enemy. Sure, the hammer of Sigmar can do that, but that's in Galmaraz. Yeah,
I do love that the first two votes that came in was an S and a C.
Wow, that's interesting. So this is entirely up to you. This one is a toughie because Warhammer itself doesn't really know what the Galmaraz is. Age of Sigmar has placed it very clearly.
Yeah, and in Age of Sigmar, Galmaraz is a completely different kettle of fish.
But like, it is arguably a different hammer in comparison to what we've got here in the Empire. Yeah, a completely different weapon. It's a really interesting one. And if you want to see a super hyped up version, the patrons over in Lawhammer have got one which has got a stupendous number of runes on it, because I made the Hammer of Sigmar as I thought it should be, not what Games Workshop did. But the hammer that Games Workshop has made is, well, 5 runes.
Yeah, when it ultimately suffered a lot from, they wanted a big general character on a griffin to wield it, but they also wanted him to be playable, which meant it had to be not over the top.
And they also wanted it to match the rules that they had made for dwarves and their runic artifacts, because that's clearly what it was. And by doing so, it got a massive nerf, and it got turned into a relatively mundane artifact by comparison to some others.
Yeah, I just realized I can actually fix this. There we go. Now y'all should no longer be able to hear weird shit. Okay, that should fix it. All right. Carl Franz. It was clearly too important for anyone else. I don't remember what it is in this context.
No.
Because there was a delay on that. But sure, yeah. Ben Fisher, nonsense. The true Warhammer is clearly the Hammer of Harry.
Well, you've clearly been watching Lawhammer.
Yeah. Harry the Hammer. To be fair, I mean, that is he was on the first cover. He was on the first cover.
So I'm not even going to go into it, but I have a big, long discussion on this one.
There you go. Getting Gleeful. Someone on Discord said the Galmaraz could just be a powerful artifact, but is more symbolically powerful than actually powerful. I kind of like that idea. I think it's cool that important things have mundane aspects. Yeah.
I agree completely. But it's also worth noting that that's not what this list is about.
Unless you want it to be.
Of course, you can rate it any way you want.
But in our opinion,
our descriptions, it's the ones that actually have the most, not just mundane political power as a symbol of office, because there's thousands of those across the Warhammer world. And the Empire is not that important. It's just one nation, one area amongst many.
But that
There's
would
loads of
explain
realms.
why it doesn't look like the original one.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it would, wouldn't it?
Stephen Lucas, the hammer is an old one. True form is Harry the Hammer.
Sure.
A lot of people watch Lawhammer, which is good. You should watch Lawhammer, and also go subscribe to it, because when we get to 10K subscribers, we get to do the Guilt episode. Karl Franz Empire, Emperor of Man. Gal Maraz destroys an ancestor rune weapon in the Black Plague. I mean, it can shatter other magic
Absolutely.
weapons.
The Master of Valeric the Mad is more than capable of blasting through many artifacts. It is an extraordinarily powerful rune. Let's not in any way diminish it, but we're talking the god tier items here. Is this a god tier item? Well, it's wielded by a god. It had to be included. It's the Warhammer, but where do you think it lands?
Singemeister, do we count it surviving into AOS? Not for this poll. This is explicitly about Warhammer Fantasy.
Warhammer Fantasy, yeah.
Also, I would deeply agree with Andy that the Galmaraz in AOS is, I would argue, is not the same thing.
It's even depicted slightly differently. Yeah.
Ricky Chapman got hit by Galmaraz. Did you now? Got hit by Galmaraz in a Wolfram campaign. Our Chaos Lord was smashed at the side of the head. Our teeth was reduced to powder, and the Chaos Armor crumpled and exploded and pulped our eye and skull. Yeah, that'd do it.
Nice.
That would do it. Hound of Omen. There's a loot rat grabbing the shiniest of axes while Man-Thing and Red Stunty are tied up again. And Greyseer Thankful explains his great cunning plans to them. Now where to hide it. The loot rat then tripped and fell all the way down into C tier. So falls the axes of Grimnir down to C.
Maybe you should move the Fellblade down one as well, since
suddenly that loot rat was just grabbing all the shiniest weapons, and for somehow just made it out. That's so funny that we have a weapon just descending over the course. All right, we're gonna call time on Galmaraz.
Oh,
and y'all were pretty, y'all were arguing. Yeah. Good to see.
Okay, so that's a CBAS, but with C taking the weight. Don't disagree. Galmaraz is possibly S tier, but Galmaraz is described in the end times is not. It is just a magical hammer of some extraordinary ability, and that's cool. That's super cool. It's tied to Sigmar, and it's holy, and it's cool, but it's not necessarily all the way up there as a god tier weapon capable of doing what some of the next set of weapons are capable of doing, at least the next one.
Yeah, I very hard agree on C tier. Personally, I'll put it this way. If it wasn't for the fact that it's the Warhammer, I would not have put it on this list. Would be what I would say.
Yeah, if it wasn't the Warhammer, it probably wouldn't be on the list, but you've got to include it because it's the Warhammer. Also, Karl Franz, holy shit.
The loot rat gets crushed by true Dalway steel back to us. Damn rat shouldn't even have money. They clearly stole it. They did. Back you go.
Hilarious. I'm also going to take a deep pause here. For those of you who are Warhammer fans, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to mention it now because I will forget if I don't. This Saturday, we're doing a stream about John Blanche. And memory of his great work and his influence upon not just Warhammer, but fiction and science fiction as a whole. He has had such a massive impact. We're inviting over on the Rookery side of things, Jez Goodwin. Now, if you don't know who Jez Goodwin is, do a quick web search and you'll go, oh, holy shit. He's the man who designed the Space Marines. He actually designed them himself. He was the man who designed the Eldar. He's the man who designed the Skaven. The Skaven we all know and love. Jez Goodwin did all of that. And he's going to be coming on to discuss the life and work of John, because he and John worked together for
it's going to be a must-watch episode, genuinely.
Yeah,
and you can submit questions. You can ask Jez Goodwin a question.
Yeah. Right now, if you want to ask questions, you can pop over to the Rookery Discord. There's a link somewhere, I presume. Just pop over to the Rookery streams somewhere, and pop over the Rookery Discord. There's questions over there. Or if you just want to share your memories of John Blanche, you can also do that, and we'll read them out on screen. So, had to get that out. Galmaraz, done.
Yep. And that takes us on to the Grieve.
The Grieve. Now, this is one that I wasn't going to include because I'd forgotten about it, which, as you're about to find out, is hilarious. So, I was discussing with Lindsay, and if you don't know who Lindsay is, she's my wife, and she's a writer of Warhammer as well. And I was saying, is there any items we might have forgotten? You know, proper god killing, god tier weapons. And she went, the Grieve? And I went, ha! Oh, crap! Ha, the Grieve! Shit! So why is the Grieve important? Well, I wrote it. I created this fucking thing. You think I'd remember to include it? Nope. Completely forgot about it. So let's have a quick discussion as to what the Grieve is. It is one of two things. You've got the official version and you've got what I was writing. And you can decide how you want to rate both and what matters. The official version is that the Grieve is a super spooky, weird dirk, a relatively small dagger. It's not that big. As blades go, it's relatively short, and it is covered along its entire length with ancient runes that are very difficult to place. People have tried to associate it with ancient Eltharine, with perhaps the language of the Fimmer. Others have tried to say it comes from the lands of Nekara, or perhaps possibly the Strigos. And all of them are possibly right, possibly wrong. But the important detail is what the Cult of Cain thinks. The Cult of Cain claim, and I'm not talking about the elves, we're talking about the old world, in Tilia, in the Empire, in Estalia, there. The Cult of Cain fervently believe that this weapon killed Mor. Now you might go, wait, what the fuck? Mor, like the god of death, Mor in the old world. He's not dead. No, he is. He's trapped beyond the portal and can never get out. Why? Because he rules over the land of the dead. Because he's dead. The god is on the other side and can never escape. Why? Because of the Grieve. The Grieve was used by Cain to assassinate his brother, and he killed him. He is the god of murder, after all. That is what Cain is to the old world, the god of assassination, and he killed his brother with it. This weapon is the God Killer, created as a God Killer to kill gods. That is what this weapon is. Now, you might go, what the fuck? What the, where, who, when, why? What is this in truth? In truth, I can tell you exactly what was the behind-the-scenes thinking for this, because in a rare instance, we can discuss both what the item is and what it actually was decided to be. This was one of the 100 weapons created for Cain by Vol, the god Vol. And this one was specifically designed to kill the Chaos gods, and he killed his brother with it. It was designed to stab one of them effectively in the back, and he killed his brother with it. Now, you might go, but he doesn't have a brother. We've got twisted different types of mythologies here. But what's important is, as far as the old world is concerned, and as far as the Cult of Cain is concerned, this is how it came about. Now, was that the intention of the writing? Was it meant to be the weapon that killed Mor? Yes, 100%. This was the item that kills Mor. And it finds itself throughout the old world again and again and again. It has been through the Imperial Palace multiple times, taken down into the Chamber Unbreachable or the Cult of Sigmar, holding it beneath their cathedral, because they're trying to keep it away from doing what it does, which is assassinate. And it's been used to assassinate many key figures. Mandred Ratslayer is rumored to have been killed by this blade when the Skaven used it to kill him. Myrmidia herself was possibly attacked by this weapon. There's all sorts of stories attached to it, ranging from Electrocounts who were killed to other famous individuals who were killed, but it comes up again and again. The most important part is that it can kill anything, right up to gods, completely changing how they will etherically manifest to never be able to influence this world again directly. That's the intent, at least. This is an interesting one. It's not like, in fact, someone's already just brought it up. It's not the Blade of Realities. It's not something that works across all spheres of reality. What it does is it ends gods. It ends people. And it seems like an obvious inclusion because it's the only weapon that we can say for certain in Warhammer that has killed a god.
Yep. Speaking of the Blade of Realities,
yeah.
Alpha Mans, someone swings the Blade of Realities and hits both S and C tier with it.
Fucking hell.
So
I love that.
It is just everywhere all at once. Good shit. Good shit. Thank you for that. That's very funny.
That's funny.
So yeah, all I'm gonna add is this, like Andy said, we'll talk a little bit about a certain weapon coming up in a little while, but this is the only truly confirmed god killer in the setting. It has undeniably, beyond a shadow of a doubt, killed a god, and it is a spooky ass weapon that is able to wander its way out of where it's supposed to be. It's an SCP if you like your SCPs. It cannot be contained. It will find its way to do more murder because it is murder incarnate.
Indeed. And it's worth noting, if you want to give it a different name, you can. It's a Sword of Cain. It's just a different one. It's created for a completely different purpose to the other one. This list actually has 2 weapons, and it's worth noting the Sword of Cain, when we get there, isn't a sword.
Yeah, so this
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, this is the assassination aspect of murder. This is the quiet, death dealing in the darkness aspect of murder.
This is Cain's ability to assassinate. Holy shit.
Yeah, so get your votes in. The vote is up now. Getting gleeful. So was Moore married to the ancient widow?
No. I can say that definitively from the creative perspective, but that doesn't mean that Games Workshop wouldn't turn it into that later. But from the point of when they were created, the answer is no.
He's married to Verena.
Indeed.
Stephen Lucas, truly, Potek is Harry the Hammer's other name. Fucking Potek. If you haven't ever, feel free to go back and check out our old one stream. We did a big old one stream a while back where we went over all the old ones, and Potek's an interesting bugger.
Totally is. So we're going to have to be relatively swift in this, so get your votes in now. Just tap into the comments, 1, 2, 3, or 4, as to where you think this particular artifact should be placed.
Y'all are neck and neck.
B, or C? It's super close just now between S and A, with A currently being neck and neck. If you think it should be different, drop into the comments right now.
Yeah, and also, as always, just want to take a brief moment to thank you all, not only for showing up. We've been really, really pleased with like Fantasy Lorebeards. Like we're getting into some great viewer numbers, kind of like back in the old days when we were having to do it split on the channels and it was a whole fucking mess and everything. So A, thank you for showing up, and B, thank you for all the generous support.
You've been amazing.
It's been super duper nice to be back. And of course, these are always fun, just goofy shenanigans shit. And we can't thank y'all enough for helping us keep the lights on and keep food on the table and all the other stuff. So just wanted to say thanks. And man, y'all are fighting in the trenches on this one.
It's quite the fight now. Oh, super close. We're only going to leave this for another like 30 seconds or so. So be super quick.
Yeah, I'm going to give y'all until 6:13. So if you haven't voted, get your voting, because it's literally wavering back and forth between 2 different options. Okay. One's pulling. One's pulling.
I love this. It's super fun.
I have to say the new poll feature, what a fucking, this is so nice. It's so much easier. Everybody's vote counts. And that is time.
S just.
That A was ahead for a good bit, and S just snuck up and claimed it right at the end there.
Do I agree with this? Well, I'll give you a single example. In one of my previous campaigns, this weapon was used to attack as someone was moving towards the Silver Flame of Ulrich and extinguished it.
Ooh, that's spooky.
That's how potentially impactful this blade can be, because it is the great assassination made manifest into a single piece of artifact, I suppose, in the Warhammer world. I think it's massively impactful. It's a god-slaying weapon. Do I think it's the most important weapon in the world? Oh, what do you think?
I definitely think it's S tier. Killing a god and creating the god of death is incredibly, deeply dramatic and important to the history of the entire setting. And it is a weapon that I don't think its powers are all innately obvious. This is a weapon that would change the course of reality in order to allow itself to wander into someone's hands who will use it to kill something that should not be possible to be killed. It is a really dangerous, spooky thing.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what it is. And it's a manifestation of Cain's will to remove his enemies. as made manifest by Vol, and that's awesome. Yeah, it should be up here. I'm not sure where it should be up there. Where do you think?
I put it above Continental Drift because although Continental Drift takes a specific set of circumstances to be a world ender, otherwise it's mostly like an earthquake causer or like a city ruiner. But like the Grieve is it's spook. It's literally just an embodiment of murder.
Yeah. I mean that seems fair. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I can see the argument against, but like,
yeah, me too.
I think it fits there.
Yeah, I think it's all right there. You want to go with the Kraken Helm?
Yeah, so the Kraken Helm.
Like
okay,
one.
so we know our community. We know y'all. We understand y'all. Also, real quick, there is a somewhere in the audience, and for some reason the Fellblade fell down a little bit again. But the Kraken Helm is a Fishman artifact. It just is. It is from the Fishmen. It was crafted by the Fishmen. It was made by them and stolen by Lokir Fellheart. And everybody loves their Fishmen, so we're like, fuck it, give them a Fishman. But in fairness to the actual artifact itself, the Kraken Helm is a very, very strange, spooky artifact. Especially thanks to some later information that we were given on it, of that we get to see it used in universe of there is a lot of crazy forms of regeneration in Warhammer Fantasy. Trolls are often considered the absolute height of regeneration. And the Kraken Helm, to put it bluntly, thanks to a direct story we have, makes troll regeneration look like garbage.
Yeah.
Because if you take a troll and you have a big axe like a dwarf and you hack into its brain, the troll will die and you have a good little bit to gather up the troll and burn it to make sure it doesn't come back together, because it can. So you want to make sure to like burn it and everything. The Kraken Helm, on the other hand, we have an explicit scene where Lokir Fellheart is fighting and he gets a axe cleaved through the helm into his head, deep into his brain. It cleaves his head basically in half, and he instantly snaps back together, and the metal, his head, his skin, his bone, his brain all instantly regenerate, and he is fighting within a second. Like, it is a snap level of regen, which is fucking freaky even in Warhammer.
Yeah, I mean, this is a super cool item. I've always loved it. I love the impact it has on the battlefield if you ever play Warhammer, because it's this golden helm with this great gribbly Cthulhu-like face sitting in the center of your army of deep dark purples and blacks and dark shades, and this golden helm that stands out from the center of all your Corsairs. It's a lovely, impactful place in your Dark Elf army. But more than that, it grants you all of the benefits of being one of the great nasty creatures of the deep. It's not just that it regenerates, which it does, and it does it extraordinarily well. It makes you as terrifying as one of the greatest, most scary creatures that the Warhammer world has to offer. You become a terrifyingly scary individual that can make even those who are normally immune to such things go, nope, I'm noping out of here. I'm not dealing with this. It is a fun artifact. It's also, out of all the ones that we have in our pool here, one of really the only defensive ones we have. There's one of the only armor.
It's literally one of the only armor pieces.
Yeah, indeed. This is a defensive piece because it effectively gives you extraordinarily good regeneration, and it makes you terrifying, which means many people will not approach you. So for those of you who are thinking about the shotgun test, there ain't no one with a shotgun coming anywhere close to this, and if they do, bang, they just get right back up again. So shotgun test passes, but it is worth noting that as artifacts go.
And the last thing I'll say is that this is something that if you're a hardcore roleplay enthusiast and like Warhammer and Lorebeards, you'll go, oh, which is that it mutates Lokir Fellheart.
Yeah.
Which, if you know elves and you know what elves are like when it comes to physical mutation, considering how short he's like, think about T'Kala, how old she is and how much she's managed to mutate because of that age and how deep she's in the, in the sauce. Lokir Fellheart's only worn this helm for like several hundred years. and it has mutated his flesh, it has mutated his eyes, and it has mutated his mind. We don't even know what his face looks like.
Yeah, the Kraken helm has done something to him. Now, that might not really make the artifact the most important one in the Warhammer world from your perspective, but it is worth noting that there is something going on with this item. In the same way that the Hammer of Sigmar is imbued somehow with the spirit and the something of Sigmar. This is imbued with something to do with, and they almost certainly deserve a better name, but the Fishmen. Where do you think this one should be ranked?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, or 4?
We
A, B, C, or D? Drop it in.
We totally did not include this for meme purposes. No, sir. That is not why we put it on here at all.
I mean, it's the Fishmen. You got to include at least one of them.
Dr. Awesome. Stream idea. Design one of the 100 weapons of Cain. That would be super fun.
That'd be super fun, particularly because, just to be very quick, and this is the votes coming in, Cain over in Warhammer still has the idea of the aspects of Cain, which we might know from 40k. So the idea that each one of these 100 weapons personifies one of the aspects of Cain and how he goes to war is, I think, worthwhile. And to a degree shows why murder is the core concept for the old world, because the Grieve has been in the old world associated with Cain almost from the beginning. So over there, he's the god of murder. But for the elves, he's the god of so much more.
Yep, I have put it on the list. And yeah, I agree. That would be super fun. Also, as a fun fact, an item that almost made on the list, we ended up not putting on the list ultimately, but an item that we got very close to putting on the list was the Hammer of Vol, which is used to create.
Really close.
It was really, really close. It could have been on. It's more of we had a limited number of slots, and it wasn't better than a lot of the competition.
Yeah, it's one that has a super fun story and is associated with 2 of the items on the list. So yeah, the Hammer of Vol is a fun one.
Getting gleeful. Actually, I suppose that makes sense. If the Ancient Widow was married to someone that Cain killed, they would have been killed by the Widowmaker. That's my personal headcanon. I will say that. Getting gleeful. So in our version of the Fishman, the Kraken Helm was one of a set of 8 artifacts called the Mantikes of Madness. The Mantkes of Madness. Currently, it's in its lesser form, but when fully used, can make your flesh grow mold into any shape. That sounds very fucking spooky.
Love that. That's cool.
Funston, would the Kraken Helm allow the wielder to wield the Fellblade? Probably, but I think it would be deeply
doesn't directly control you, so it's up to the wielder, really.
Yeah, it would probably not feel good. I'll tell you that.
Fellblades.
If you're literally just dying and regenerating constantly.
Oh, I see what you mean, Joe. Could you do? Sorry, I actually thought you were trying to say would the helmet intercede? Because many of these artifacts,
it would be funny if it did. It was like nah.
And I think the answer to that would be you'd be fucked, and that you'd be an emaciated, weird, half alive, half dead, because the Fellblade is meant to be utterly corrupting.
It ruins you. It doesn't just kill you, it ruins you.
So you'd be the ghost of the person that you were before. And the second that helm came off, you'd just be dead.
Yep. Yeah, you'd be alive, but you'd look horrible.
Yeah.
And you'd feel horrible because the regen doesn't protect you from pain. You still feel everything.
Mantles.
Gideon Gleeful. Also, FYI, the other mantles all do different stuff. Not all of them are the healing mutation stuff. Some mind control, stealth, and so on.
Yeah, super stealth. Cool. That makes sense. Yeah. I like that. That's a super cool idea, Gideon. I like that.
All right, and we're gonna go ahead and call time, and we have B tier. Okay, all right.
B. What do you think? Do you think B tier for the Kraken helm is fair?
I would have put it in C personally.
Yeah, me too.
Like it's very fun. It's very cute. It's on here because of a meme. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, it's decent, but the reason it's here is because you have to have something from the Fishman because it's awesome. Does it have a spooky aspect that might make it more than a C? Sure, but it's so well defined that it's.
I will say I do think the end times completely fucked up. It should have had a narrative. The Helm of the Kraken. Or the Kraken Helm should have had a narrative that revolved around it, and the end times just completely ignores it, and it's really sad. Because the 8th edition books set up a storyline for it, and then they don't follow through, which was a shame.
More
the
than a shame.
Nemesis
It's really
crown.
freaking annoying. That's what that was. The Nemesis crown. Do you want to go on this one?
Yeah. So the Nemesis Crown. This, as many of you know, now due to its inclusion now in Total War, what is an alternate reality storyline where in the Storm of Chaos storyline, after Archaon is defeated and everything, time keeps marching on, and an event happens. It's probably the great final epic, we would say, of Karl Franz's era, Karl Franz's reign, where the Nemesis Crown is revealed due to earthquake shenanigans and some goblins finding it. And this thing is basically Alric the Mad's absolute masterpiece and a thing he should not have made. And it is a terrible, dark crown that had a rune inscribed on it that is so powerful that the only material in reality that was capable of bearing the rune is the most pure, refined, perfected warpstone. And the crown is quite bluntly stated to have the power to alter the fate and destiny of the entire species of whoever wears it.
Yeah.
And those be big words.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's it.
I was just going to summarize quick, so I'm scared of the time. You want your dwarves to live forever? Get a king to wear this hat, because it will change their fate. Unfortunately, as the summer campaign where this was a feature made quite clear, everybody tries to wear that hat. Goblins try to wear that hat. Dark elves sort of try to wear that hat. Empire folks try to wear that hat. Everyone wants the Nemesis hat, because the Nemesis hat, the great masterwork of Alaric the Mad, will change your faction forever and make it better and make you win. That's pretty cool. That's pretty influential. Sure, it's made of warpstone. Sure, it's corrupted. Sure, it's not necessarily great. And yes, Alaric the Mad was accurately named the Mad. It's not necessarily the wisest artifact to use, but it's also worth noting it works.
It does work. Now, it also is vaguely implied to have its own quirk where it seems to drive the wielder towards a particular destiny, almost as if the crown has its own desire, which is not great, but it does work. It does what it says on the tin. And Total War, I will say, Total War did a really great job realizing the crown and being like, how powerful would this weapon thing be if somebody wore it? And the answer is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, truly. This is an artifact that does make a difference. This isn't one of those ones where you go, oh, it's cursed and there's going to be no good that comes from this. Not at all. Alaric the Mad made a successful Nemesis crown, not an unsuccessful one. He was a genius after all.
Yeah. And to Alec's credit, the last thing that he did in his life was look at what he created and went, I shouldn't have made this. I shouldn't have made this.
I made a mistake. I'm going to go hide it over in the Howling Hills, as I recall.
Yes. Unfortunately for him, it got dug up. But so the vote's up for that. We are keeping we're gonna be kind of speeding through these last few ones, but the last few ones are actually pretty notable.
Yeah, the last few ones are easy. We've got 5 to do in half an hour. That's only about 5 minutes per one, so we have to be relatively fast.
Yeah, that's not bad. So I'll give y'all just a couple minutes on this, but y'all look like you're pretty much.
I mean,
you know what? I don't think I need to.
Come on,
I don't think I need to let this one drag out.
Apparently, one of you, 2 of you definitely think it's a B, and a few more of you think it's an A, but the vast majority are diving deep down in S. S tier. Is there?
Yeah, the guy that voted B is clearly that goblin that started with it and then died pretty quickly. That was this ground storyline.
Yeah, totally.
All right, we'll go ahead into the poll there. That one's a shoe-in.
Yeah, that one's a pretty easy one. The Nemesis Crown is an S tier artifact, and I find this interesting because it is an artifact that wasn't made by the dwarf ancestor gods, which is normally the case for the great dwarf artifacts of awesomeness. For example, the Axes of Grimnir, Sigmar's Hammer. They were made by gods. Alaric the Mad was no ancestor god. He was just a very, very...
Who's Alaric the Mad? He's one of the most famous dwarf rune lords of all time.
Yeah, Alaric the Mad is one of the most famous dwarf rune lords ever. And,
he made all the rune fangs.
He made all the rune fangs, and he was someone who figured out how to put 2 master runes on the same artifact. There's an entire story about the rune fangs and how that was done in one of the novels. And cut a long story short, The artifact is astonishingly powerful, is important, but was retconned out of existence by the end times. So it doesn't exist in official Warhammer, but trust me, because it's in Total War now, it almost certainly does exist in the vast majority of people's understanding of what Warhammer is. But if we go with the official story and how it came about,
and we can say
campaign, it never
CA
occurred.
had to go to them and be like, can we include this as an official thing? And GW was like, yeah.
Which means that's official. It'll do for me. So the Nemesis Crown is a thing.
Yeah. And is it super S tier? Yes. This thing is bonkers. This is a reality warper on cosmic scale. It is goofy. It is goofy in the best way.
Because of the core rune that's in there that Alaric the Mad could only inscribe upon Warpstone. And yes, this is also a key storyline in Lawhammer.
There you go. All right, next up we have this one comes with some caveats.
It's fucking 6.
So we have the 6 treasures of chaos. So these are the set of equipment that makes someone Archaon. Because keep in mind, Archaon is not just a name, it is technically more of a title. Someone becomes Archaon by acquiring the 6 treasures of the Everchosen. And the person that said is going to become Archaon is said to bring about the apocalypse, which we know he successfully does. These 6 artifacts are the Armor of Morkar, the Crown of Domination, the Eye of Shirian, the Slayer of Kings, Dorgar, Steed of the Apocalypse. Am I missing one? Or is that all 6? Wait, Dorgar,
the last one.
Crown, Eye,
sword,
Armor, Sword.
Armor. What's the last one?
The Mark. The Mark of Chaos Undivided.
The Mark of Chaos.
Yeah.
Undivided, of course.
So, this undeniably is a powerful thing. It is literally whoever gets these 6 is destined to bring about the apocalypse, and we know they succeed. Bluntly, period. They bring about the end of the world.
Yeah, this is a fun one because of that. This is not one where we're doing this is what it could do. This is what it does.
Yes. Yeah, this is not a potential. This is a realization. Now, each of these artifacts are very, very powerful in their own right, but combined, they make the wielder essentially unstoppable in many ways. Archaon, especially in the end times where Games Workshop wanted a fully realized Archaon, his finale profile is bonkers. He is an absolute fucking monster, and all of these things take him from being just a guy to being someone that can throw down with the avatars of gods and reliably beat them. He is terrifying. The sword has a very powerful bloodthirster contained within it and is able to slice through any armor like it's nothing. The Eye of Shirian allows him to see all futures, and allows him to dodge and manipulate events and also see things on a magical level. The Mark of Chaos Undivided gave him the powers of all 4 of the greater chaos gods, and allowed him to become a powerful sorcerer. The Armor of Morkar makes him incredibly difficult to hurt through any means whatsoever. The Crown of Domination allows him to extend his influence over all creatures of chaos anywhere near him, and Archaon's will is his most powerful defining feature, so it's debatably, one would argue, the most dangerous artifact of the set. And Dorgar is a cool horse monster thing. Shapeshifter creature.
Yeah, not unfair.
Now, to be fair to this poll, we are cheating. We are just flat out cheating, because this is not 1 item, it is 6 items, and one of them is also a horse.
Yeah, so we had a bit of a conversation about this one as to whether to separate it up. And the answer was no, because separately they're not that great. Each one of them is uniquely powerful and interesting in its own right, but that isn't what destroyed the world. It was Archaon, and Archaon was effectively created by these 6 artifacts. You can't become Archaon without them. And you might go, but wait a minute, Archaon's a dude. Well, yes, but he was a prophesized dude with the name of Archaon. And a dude comes along and says, I'm Archaon because I've got them. That's how he became it. It's a title, Archaon, the son of chaos. And these 6 treasures make him. And he destroys the world. And that, I think, has to be taken into account. Each one of the artifacts, as Ryan has described, are powerful. But their combined power almost symbolizes something more. Someone who can control the hordes of chaos and end the world. it seems wrong not to include them.
Yep. And with that, we're going to go ahead and fire off that poll. So we've got the 6 artifacts of chaos. What makes Archaon? Because he was just Diedrich Kastner beforehand. He was just
indeed.
some guy.
Another thing that's a plot of Warhammer.
I have Shirian sounds cool. Any streams work? Yes, go watch our Build an Everchosen stream. We went hard on the story of Shirian. If you want to go check that out.
A version of Shirian, because Shirian has
version.
Another
we do talk. We do talk about the original version.
Yeah, we build a slightly different version for that.
A better version. Dr. Awesome. Could a construct wield the Fell Blade? Probably lead to something weird.
The thing would just corrupt and fall apart.
It would destroy it.
Yeah. The magics are, it's not just it corrupts your soul or whatever. It just tears everything around it and crumbles it to dust. That
it's
construct
entropy.
would not last long. Yeah, entropy is a good way of putting it. You are going to crumble.
Stephen Lucas, it's an alt reality because it got hit by the Blade of Reality. Somebody bonked the crown with the Blade of Realities and destroyed that reality.
Would genuinely work.
Yeah, there you go. The Humble Scholar. Actually, oh man, I just realized that could be such a fun plot point in the whole light library. Go watch Lawhammer. When I say light library, you'll figure out what I'm talking about eventually. You could have a really fun storyline involving the Blade of Realities and that library.
You certainly could.
Humble Scholar, I wanted to ask, which gives the user more magical power and skill, the Crown of Sorcery or the Eye of Shirian?
I mean, ultimately, probably the Crown of Sorcery, because the Eye of Shirian doesn't really give you magical power and skill per se, but it does give you massive insight that allows you to be much better at magic if you can do it already. So probably the Crown of Sorcery, but...
Yeah, I would say the Crown, but it could be argued that the Crown is more like, has a master that it more specifically answers to and drives towards, whereas the Eye does not.
Agreed hard.
Yeah.
Super Orlock. Chaos, so it sort of does.
Yeah, so it sort of does, but it's like, yeah, whatever, go crazy, fam. Super Orlock. The Sword of Cain is a bad artifact because it completely invalidates its own use. The curse curses the things you are protecting by having a weapon. We'll get to that.
Yeah, well, Super, you're not wrong there.
You're not wrong.
Sword of Cain is not a nice thing.
Battlefoot. I just had dinner with my grandparents. Oh, that's lovely.
Hey, you missed the Fishman talk.
Yes, you did. Feel free to kick back the stream like 20 minutes.
Yeah, no,
enjoy the Fishman
about
discussion.
The Helm. We actually discussed Fishman. Who'd have thought?
Yep. Garrett 007. So the Crown of Nagash on its own would be crazier / stronger than the Crown of Domination. They do very different things.
Very different things. That's a little bit like saying that tree outside is so much stronger than the timber that I'm using on my ship on the other side of the world. Wait, what? I mean, they're both sort of wood, they're both crowns, but they're doing so many different things and they're being treated in different ways. It's very different artifacts.
Yeah, like that. They're just functionally, they have just totally different roles that they're performing.
True
all right, and we're gonna call time.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, chat says S tier.
Yeah, we argued as to how to include these, and the only way to include them felt like was the cheat way, which was all 6 need to be together or they're not really. It's almost like it's one artifact that's getting pulled together by chaos into one place. And once they're bound together, it creates Archaon. Archaon almost doesn't matter who it is that becomes Archaon. Archaon is the creation of these artifacts.
Yeah, he really doesn't. He's just the guy that crossed the... Diedrich Kastner is just the guy that crossed the finish line first.
Yeah, totally. And a very impressive guy, and he did some
impressive feats. He did it. Like, full credit. But it could have been anyone.
I would argue that none of the artifacts individually are that Warhammer shifting, but combined, they create the Everchosen, and the Everchosen destroys the world. So it's hard not to put it.
That's why I'm putting it at the bottom of S tier, because it technically kind of cheated to get onto this list in the first place.
I think that's fair. I'm quite happy with that, because I don't think those artifacts deserve S, but I do think Archaon's artifacts deserve S.
Yeah. So, all right. Next up, the Sword of Cain, the Widowmaker.
Cain, Widowmaker.
We have 23 minutes.
Okay, so do you want to do your short form then? And
I'll do it. So the Widowmaker, as far as the setting itself is often concerned, is considered the strongest weapon in the world. It is, you pick it up, you are basically a god. It is a perma demon killer. This is explicitly stated out that the demons that are cut by it, well, in later lore, are permanently put down. Nakari literally had to throw himself into the vortex to avoid dying from it when he was cut in half. He basically threw his essence into a pocket dimension to survive. It is a terrible, powerful weapon. It's not a sword, as Andy mentioned earlier. It takes the form it needs to in order to cause the most destruction and death possible. It is in its own way a world ender, but it is also, it comes at a terrible price. It comes at a terrible price. Kane was not fucking around with it. And it's bonkers. It is a bonkers weapon that does some nasty stuff. According to some stuff in the Demons of Chaos book, because when I was looking at some other weapons, there is a shard of some of Kane's and Slaaneish's own weaponry that exists in the world, and many believe it's because the Widowmaker, when Kane was wielding it, shattered and or caused a wound across Slaaneish's face that never healed.
Yep. Okay, so Widowmaker. In some respects, a better name than the Sword of Cain, because it's not a sword. It's a weapon that takes on any form that's required for the wielder to go to war and destroy. This is not a weapon that will in any way help your war in some respects. It's a weapon of pure destruction, and it turns you into a killing machine. You are going to be filled with the dark thoughts of Cain at his worst, or arguably, in truth, probably the dark thoughts of Vol. Why do we say this? Because this weapon was not made by Cain. It was made by Vol, who was chained to his anvil with his hammer and crippled by Cain and forced to make it, along with the other weapons as well.
Yeah, one could. So the answer to this, Ben Fisher, you could almost argue that Vol designed it to get Cain. He cursed Cain with it.
He cursed Cain with it. Now, was Cain forever changed by this weapon? Possibly. We don't know for certain, but the answer, if we go into the myths, is almost certainly yes, because that's how myths work. Cain gets punished for what he did by Vol. And this weapon is a manifestation of that punishment. And all who follow the wielder will be, to a degree, caught up in the darkest thoughts of Vol and his revenge upon Cain. This weapon is no normal weapon. It is a weapon, though, that if you draw it, you will win.
Yeah, weirdly
Every
enough,
battle you get into.
If you want to hear a lot of potential theories about this weapon, go watch our Build a God or Expand a God, our Elf God stream on Anath Rama. We have a lot of discussion about Widowmaker.
Yeah, Widowmaker's great. A marvelous weapon, and a weapon that the most powerful characters in Warhammer are afraid to wield. Why? Because it will curse you and yours forever. Forever. There is no coming back from this shit. Malekith is cursed by this blade. Teclis and Tyrion are cursed by this blade. Every Everqueen is cursed by this blade. The elves are doomed because of this blade. Every elf that Anarion was trying to save is ultimately doomed. Ulthuan is ultimately doomed because he drew this blade. It is not a weapon that mortals should toy with. Gods war with this weapon, and even they are quite convinced they don't want anywhere near it. This is Cain's weapon. The god of murder who becomes a maniacal entity during the cataclysm, the war in heaven, whatever you want to call it, when it is given to him. The weapon that gets cast down from the heavens into Ulthuan, where it stayed in the shrine of Cain. It is scary. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, it is. All right, getting caught up with some super chats here. Arumthiel, given you two are doing this tier list before the East gets its artifact item, if they get it, a big artifact item, what are you two going to do with the East gets a god tier artifact? We'll do probably a big stream on it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah. A character that I'm actually really interested to see, because if they base it at all on his OG myths, his artifact should genuinely be fucking bonkers, is the Monkey King. Because the original Monkey King's items are like they're fucking obscene in the original myths. So if Warhammer even takes a little bit of inspiration from that, they should be kind of absurd. But we'll have to see what happens. All right, this seems pretty overwhelming. So really I'm not going to drag it out.
Yeah, let's not drag it out. It's S tier. So where does it sit? You know, the fact that it's as cursed as the Nemesis Crown. It's as capable as the Nemesis Crown. They are almost two different manifestations of a similar outcome. And I would argue, if you want to build a story around the Nemesis Crown and Alaric the Mad's intent, tying it to the Sword of Cain and its capabilities is not an unwise choice, but not a necessary one. I definitely think they sit hand in hand at the top, though.
Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, it is one of the most important artifacts in the Warhammer setting, and it has the power to back it up.
Yeah, agreed.
It sucks. It's cursed. It's horribly cursed, but it
is. But that doesn't mean that it's not a god tier item that was designed by a god to curse a god, but also to kill gods. Because this was for Cain to go on and take on Khorne, to go toe-to-toe with Khorne. Yeah, that's not something that you dismiss out of hand. This is a proper scary sword.
Yep. All right. From there, we've got the Throne of Power. So, the Throne of Power is the great golden throne upon which the High King of the Dwarves, funny enough, it's the only place he's allowed to sit, legally, which does open up some funny questions from some people from time to time, but we're going to skip over that.
Don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, it is a great, powerful throne that is covered in all kinds of runes and was one of the last great artifacts forged by Grugni the Maker. And it is so potent that, according to myth, it is the only thing Grugni ever made, being the very self-critical artisan perfectionist that he was, that he looked upon it and he was satisfied. And it contains a rune known as the Rune of Azamar, which is so powerful that only one of its kind can exist in reality at once. And we're told is Grugni told his children that so long as the Rune of Azamar remains intact, the dwarf race will never fall.
Sounds amazing. What happens to it?
Yeah, it then cracks. But for the Throne of it is the apocalypse, but the Throne of Power itself is an incredibly powerful defensive thing. It is nigh indestructible. It has been taken into battle against the worst the world has to offer. It was used in the Cataclysm. It was used at the height of the greatest war the world ever saw, and it tank shit. If you ever want to read, there are some very cool scenes in the book Honor Keeper where there are flashbacks to when Malekith or Malarian was fighting side by side with Snorri Whitebeard, and you get to see it described in action, where there is like a great unclean one that's fighting Snorri Whitebeard, and he unleashes this great horrible torrent of rot and filth that the dwarfs around the throne are all immediately melted. All their runic weapons, all of their protection, they are melted into sludge. Snorri is completely fine. There's a crackling barrier around the throne that completely protects him and the throne itself. And more dwarfs move forward to like try and keep the throne aloft. And Snorri just tells the great unclean one, "Come and get me." And it tries, and he, of course, it's Snorri, so he beats the snot out of it.
Of course he does.
Yeah, but the throne, there are notes that it has been taken to battle against elder dragons, greater demons, and the most they have ever managed to do to it is slightly dent or scuff its surface.
Yeah.
Defensively, this thing is a beast.
Yeah, this is, as we noted earlier, we've got very few defensive artifacts. This is one of them. It's absolutely extraordinary in terms of what it will do for the dwarves. It is a defensive piece. Most magic bounces off of it. It's bedecked in runes to help protect
it's in the War Vengeance trilogy. Yeah, War Vengeance trilogy.
And ensure it should never be damaged. But while you do your vote, do be tempered by its ultimate fate. Because when the end of the world comes, the rune that holds the fate of the dwarves on it, that makes this throne so powerful, cracks. And it breaks. The unbreakable breaks. And the Warhammer world heads towards its end, along with the dwarfs. So if you think that makes an impact upon where you think it should sit on the list, Take that into account. But if you think it shouldn't, and this ancient throne, because it goes all the way back to the Cataclysm and beyond, this ancient throne fashioned by the gods of the dwarves, where does it sit in your vote?
Yeah, funny enough, the end times with the throne, I feel like there's a really fun philosophical kind of chicken and the egg debate of, does it crack because the world is going to end, or does the world end because the rune cracks? There's an interesting debate there.
There absolutely is.
Polls up.
Votes in S, A, B, or C. Type 1, 2, 3, or 4 into the comments, and it will register your vote.
Firesnake, the Widowmaker versus the Coca-Cola Blade. So by definition, the Coca-Cola Blade, when those weapons go to meet each other, the Coca-Cola Blade would be the exact thing you want to have to fight the Widowmaker, because it renders it
hard agreed. Yeah, hard agreed. This is one where the Widowmaker is fucked. I mean, that's what that blade, the Coca-Cola blade, as you're naming it, it's what that blade is made for. So on a one-on-one basis, it's not good for the Widowmaker.
You can see the cleverness behind its design. Like, hell, going up against the Everchosen, it is the perfect weapon, because then he's just a man.
Yep. And those great 6 treasures of chaos no longer make a difference. Love it.
EJ Cruising, Ankigruni equals Widowmaker. Oh, yeah,
it does. That's one of the axes of Grimnir.
Olive NP. So how strong was Emmerich to last such a quote-unquote long time against Tyrion with the Sword of Cain? Okay, so I'm going to say something a bit controversial here. Of that, the End Times does some weird stuff with the Widowmaker. It makes choices that are very odd and peculiar that I don't like. And the Widowmaker, I don't think, was treated the way it should have been. Because some kind of goofy stuff happens with it. The Emmerich fight, Emmerich manages to land a pretty telling, downright near mortal blow on Tyrion, which ends up leading to Tyrion's death later. Thanks to him working together with his dragon, which you could argue is fair, because Anarion obviously wasn't just wielding the Widowmaker, he also had the power of Assyrian within him. So there's an argument here. I personally wasn't a fan of how the sword was handled in the End Times. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm happy to say that it was bullshit and should have been written differently, but I'm quite happy with the outcome. It just should have been written better.
No. The Humble Scholar, is the Throne of Power made of any special materials?
Yeah.
It is. Yes. We don't have a lot of details on it. It's there's a lot of gold, but yes.
It's golden and star metally and great, and also painted variously blue and yellow. Green.
Yeah,
and
sadly,
other colors.
GW does not give us a chemical makeup breakdown.
No, they do not. So you're going to have to make up your own answer to that one.
Gideon Gleeful. So how do dwarfs actually swing from the throne? That's like asking, how do any special characters hit anything on top of their big dragon mounts? The answer is, don't think about it.
All right, given the hour, I think we should
we gotta wrap
call
up.
that vote nicely. And we have ourselves a pretty clear A.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. That seems pretty good. Good job, everyone. That's a good one.
I think that's a good A tier. I think if the Rune of Azamar hadn't failed the way it did, which once again it opens a philosophical debate, it would be an easy S tier, but it does. It is breakable under the strictest definition of the term.
And also, I think it's fair to say that the Throne of Power was that powerful, then the Goblin Wars would have ended differently.
It definitely is one of those things where
Kara's Anchor was screwed. It was already near its end.
Maybe the throne is why they survived at all.
Yeah, exactly. You could argue that, and that does give it a clear potential for S. But I think I agree hard. It broke, so it has to be A.
Yeah, and last but certainly not least, an item that is near and dear to the hearts of everyone that watches Lorebeards: the Tome of Fate.
You can go for that one. It's after all sourced from Warhammer Total War.
Yeah, so the Tome of Fate is the thing that if you start a Total War Warhammer 3 campaign, you're letting everything load in naturally. It starts screaming at you within 30 seconds of booting up the game, and it's very loud. But it is... So this book was created by Total War to explain why the fuck is there an advisor who's able to go to literally anybody within the game, including characters that would kill him on sight, and he's able to say just the right thing to have them be like, you know what? Yeah, you could join me. And then they go on to dominate the world. And instead of just letting it be a nameless sandbox, Creative Assembly did something really fucking cool, which is that they sat down, they said, what if we explained it? And the explanation is the Tome of Fate, which is a book wielded by a man often affectionately referred to as Daji Johan.
In Lawhammer.
Yeah, in Lawhammer, but it is spread. It has spread very much, but he's known as the advisor legally. That's his legal name. That's on his government documents. But it cursed him terribly. For the person actually holding the book, it is much more of a problem than a benefit. But for the one that benefits from the book, it guides you along the exact right path to lead to something. Now, whether that something is glorious victory, whether that something is the book's own personal objectives and aims, is a bit unclear. But it is a full-on manipulator of fate and events, which is an incredible power.
Yeah, let's keep this nice and simple since we're almost at the end of the stream. If you want to have yourself a book that contains all potential knowledge, this is it. But the carrier of the book can't access it unless they're serving someone else, thus being the advisor. And it is variously pitched as Tzeentch's favorite grimoire, or alternatively, as it turns out to be near the end, a literal greater demon in a book. It's quite literally all potential futures all wrapped up inside a bunch of very crazy pages. Go watch Total War if you want to see exactly what the book looks like. But it's a book that has various versions of itself. It looks different in different parts of the game. And that's because, hey, different editions do different things, but that doesn't matter. The book itself is very much a book of change. And what is held inside could lead you towards winning Warhammer, ultimately. That's what Total War offers you as a player, the opportunity to win Warhammer. Unlike Archaon, who wins Warhammer canonically, when you're playing Total War, you can win Warhammer with any faction. And the advisor allows you to break Warhammer lore by providing you access to your potential fate, which will be different to canonical lore. This is the Blade of Realities, in some respects, counterpoint. The Blade of Realities would kill it across all realities. Here, we have the Spinner of Realities and different versions of the future that can manifest according to how the book is used. It is exceedingly powerful. It is a really cool storytelling technique, and it is ultimately, sure, there just to make Total War make any sort of sense, but it is also, because it's been added, a super cool Tzeentch-aligned artifact that can, in fact, help any faction win. Because in Total War, you can use it to win as Cathay, as the Empire, as Kislev. Doesn't matter that Tzeentch ultimately is the source of power behind it, because it serves the person that it advises. And that service is as unbreakable as the laws of nature, meaning that it is, no matter who you are, quite useful.
So get your votes in for the final poll of the stream. Also, Emma Kane, thank you for reminding everyone. Please don't forget to like the stream. If you guys could like the stream, or even better, or actually equally good, leave a comment in the actual comment section below the stream. Yeah, that really helps the algorithm on YouTube, which is easily the most offensive of the dark gods, actually promote the stream so that more people who don't make it for the live streams are encouraged to watch it by the algorithm, because it says, oh, people like this thing, I'm going to promote it to them. So it's a really easy way to help us out that just takes a couple seconds, and we would really, really appreciate it if you would consider doing that.
Yeah, massively
the Humble Scholar, I wanted to say, for the Creative Magic item stream, the Throne of Power kind of makes me want to see an obsidian throne from the Chaos Dwarves, aka the Throne of Ruin. That's a cute idea.
So yeah, I have pretty strong opinions on that one, and I do agree that it would be a pretty cool stream.
Yep. Ricky Chapman, surprised that the treasure map that makes people trust and believe you isn't on here. That's a very cute item, but I don't think it's a world changer. I'm going to be honest.
Do like it though.
Yeah, that is funny. All right, so make sure
Is
to
that
get your
it?
votes in. And I think we can go ahead and do our outro as the last poll is coming in.
Yeah, so I have a couple of things to say as we head towards the end. Warhammer has some crazy god tier artifacts. We've selected some. You might disagree with where the polls have landed. You might disagree with the artifacts we've chosen. Dive into our Discord server and share what you think should be there. Tell us why the inclusion of the Karstein ring is an absolute must. Why the artifacts of Alariel should be in there, or whatever your favorite artifact that we missed and is not on this particular poll should be. Go dive into our Discord, share your own version, or take the poll that will be shared, I presume, by Hawk, and you can do your own version of this one.
Yep, because I know there's someone out there that's going, hey, where's Trunch Craventail's lucky helmet that can technically prevent anything from happening to him because it's lucky? And I'd go, that's a fair argument. You can put it on the list.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, we got to kind of call time a little quick on that one, but it is pretty heavily
an S. So as it comes in as an S, let's move the Fellblade down to C.
Yes, and the Fellblade, someone else in the audience coughs one last time, and it collapses down to the bottom of the list.
Thank you very much for that super chat that brought it all the way down there. I think you've already placed it in the perfect place. It's not as powerful as the Sword of Cain and Nemesis Crown, and ultimately because it doesn't always succeed, and it does ultimately serve Tzeentch. It is a corrupted item, sure, but how many times have you played Total War and lost?
Yeah, every time someone loses a campaign.
Yep. That is the Tome of Fate playing out in a way that doesn't benefit according to what the advice should be. Yeah, so
it can backseat game you as hard as it wants. It doesn't mean you're going to win.
Yeah, totally. So there is our final list. Thank you all very much for dropping in and voting. We're going to power through the last couple of super chats at the end because we have to run.
Yeah, I gotta, unfortunately, I gotta bail. What if suggested Vlad took over the Empire? Yes, that is on the list. That would be a fun. Vlad wins, basically. And Arianthel, what about Cetra's Brooch of Assyrian? Brooch of Assyrian. I don't like that it's double O's. That's not a sound double O's would make. Anyway, it is. We considered it, but ultimately, it's an item that's very reliant on one particular god being alive. And while it prevents spells, it doesn't prevent much else. It provides defenses.
Is better in every measure.
Yeah, it is a very powerful item.
Agreed.
But it's not, I don't think it is up here, and it also doesn't have the legacy like Galmaraz does to cheat its way onto this list. But with that,
there's a few here that have cheated.
Yeah, I gotta absolutely run, so I'm gonna let Andy just kind of do a final little goodbye to y'all.
I'm just gonna say thank you all very much. We will see you next Sunday, where we will be discussing what we're doing on Sunday. We're doing Nagash. We're doing Age of Sigmar.
Oh yes, AOS Nagash.
Shit, okay, so that's gonna be super fun. That's this Sunday at 4 p.m. UK time. Be there or be square. And on the Saturday before, if you would like to see Jez Goodwin discussing the life and work of John Blanche, we'll be doing that over in Recruit Publications. And of course, tomorrow will be Lawhammer. And if you'd like to join us, that'd be super awesome. Until then,
bye guys. Bye bye.